Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is Tuesday, October 7th. We are back for another Market Open. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We have had a lot of things happen in the past 24 hours that we've got to talk about, especially in the world of AI. Obviously, yesterday's deal with OpenAI and AMD was massive. And that deal, I think, set the trajectory for re-rating AMD stock in terms of how serious the desire is for compute and how that desire is likely not going away anytime soon. We've got some new deals this morning in the same ballpark around compute and data centers, even if it's not exactly with AMD, although AMD is up a little bit right here in the pre-markets at 213.89, 213.90. So that's up about 5%. I think it closed yesterday at 205. So up about $10 right here. It closed at 203. Today, we got another one. That we're about to talk about in a second, but along with all the AI deals, it's a pretty green pre-market. App Lovin', that's up 4%. That took a nice 20% tumble yesterday, and we'll talk more about that. That's recovering just slightly right here. SMCI is up 3%. Salesforce is up. Meta, Amazon, they're getting some love. Grab, breaking 650. It is the pre-market, so we got to see the volume comes in at 930, but 662 is that 52-week high, which would be amazing if we could break that. Palantir back to 180. Hoodie getting some love again, up 1.4%. Tesla is down. And we'll talk about potentially why it's down, but there is a new event happening today for Tesla. We don't know when or what time that event is happening at, but likely they're going to be releasing a new Model Y, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. SoFi getting some love. There's actually a very specific reason why SoFi is up 3%, so we'll talk about that. And then you got the S&P. That is green, along with Bitcoin and Ethereum that are not slowing down. Ethereum breaking 4,700, Bitcoin trying to get right back to 125, and as a result, BMNR trying to break $65 in the pre-market. Last time we broke 65 was about a month ago. So it would be really cool to see if we can break 65 again. Overall, pretty green pre-market. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of macro things to get into, and we will get into all that. We also are still in our, I think, 7th day of a government shutdown. And so there are some implications of that. Trump did have some positive comments yesterday about not only the ACA, which is why Oscar right here, 2347, that's up 5%, potentially extending those ACA subsidies, but also the idea that he is willing to negotiate with Democrats, and he said that they are currently in negotiations with Democrats. Maybe that will lead to a pause on the shutdown or a potential end to the shutdown, hopefully this week, but we're going to find out over the coming days. Nonetheless, market's still relatively green, even with the idea of a shutdown. So we got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it again. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Good morning. I think let's get started with the first deal of the day, which is the biggest one so far in the AI ecosystem. Then we'll get deeper into what's going on with AMD from yesterday. But this is compounding on that AMD deal, which is Iren. If you are in Iren, and I'm in it, I'm not in it as heavy as a lot of other people, but it's up 9% in the pre-markets. And the reason that it is up 9% is because they have secured a lot more GPUs. So Iren has announced it has signed an additional multi-year cloud services contract with leading AI companies for NVIDIA Blackwell GPU deployments. To date, customer contracts have been secured for 11,000 of the 23,000 GPUs, representing $225 million in AI cloud revenue, expected to be in operation by the end of 2025. New NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs continue to be contracted ahead of delivery, which is pretty incredible, on an average term of 2 years at pricing that supports a 2-year revenue payback. Beyond the initial 23,000 GPUs, Iren is actively engaging with existing and prospective customers through site tours, technical diligence, and commercial negotiations. This is what they put out in their press release today. The British Columbia campuses, together with the Horizon 1 and 2 data centers under construction in Childress, provide the capacity for more than 100,000 GPUs. Iren is a $15 billion market cap company. It is not the largest company in the world when it comes to AI data centers, but it has grown at a phenomenal pace. I mean, guys, this stock was $10. Not only in January, it was $10. Yep, I'm confirming in June. So about 4 months ago. So it's, you have a 450% move, 500% move since June, 450% move year to date. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. It's just absolutely incredible. And if some people definitely miss this. I think a lot of people miss this, including myself. Some people understood the thesis. Some people remember them from being a Bitcoin miner and they understood the pivot. But if you've been in it, or if you even got in at 20 or 30 bucks, you were up almost a double, which is just incredible as it cracks $62 in the pre-markets. Muckaby, thank you for the super chat. This guy definitely did not miss it. That's for sure. Lucky me. What's your average on Iren? Is it like 5 cents or something? Thank you for the $100 super chat, sir. This guy did not miss Iren. And for those that didn't miss it, congratulations. I mean, again, every week it's something different, whether it was Robinhood last week or AMD yesterday or Google a couple weeks before that. Like every week in this bull market has a different name that is stepping up to the plate to take on the mantle of putting up the earnings growth and the overall execution to continue to justify that this is a bull market. And today is Iren's turn. So, the reason why this is so important is because, again, when we talk about a Nebius, when we talk about a CoreWeave, when we talk about Nebius right there, up 2.4%, a Bitfarms, which is getting some love right here, that's up 15% pre-markets, a CleanSpark, which is breaking 18, that's breaking. CleanSpark was, for anyone who's followed the channel for a couple years now, we've made fun of CleanSpark. Not because it's like a horrible company. It's just because Bitcoin has like 5x, and CleanSpark was supposed to be the Bitcoin miner that took off with Bitcoin's price, because CleanSpark was like one of the most followed Bitcoin miners, and it stayed at $9 to $10 for the entire bull market of 2024 when Bitcoin was going from 15 to 100K. And now that there's an actual application of all their mining facilities inside of the AI HPC world, now CleanSpark's finally getting some love. I mean, it is quite incredible, and there's new life to these companies, which I think is rather bullish for the broader market, not bearish that these companies are totally making a pivot. Like, no, they're pivoting into a business model that really wasn't rewarding them, into a business model where there's massive amounts of demand, aka AI data centers, and they're taking advantage of it. And so that Iren deal is getting CleanSpark, Bitfarms, all these other companies to get some momentum in the pre-market, including Nebius, CoreWeave. And I think this is bullish for the entire industry. And it follows up on the AMD deal with OpenAI, which again, the sort of takeaway on that deal is that there is not enough compute. And if there's not enough compute, there's going to need to be a lot more of these smaller companies working with these hyperscalers to fulfill that demand. And if so, it seems like there's a lot of opportunity in these names, which is very, very, very exciting. So cool stuff. Cool stuff, which is what we've got going on right now. And this is what you got in the pre-markets. Phil says my $61 strike covered call on Iren just got swallowed. Yeah, I mean, look, the covered call premiums on Iren are also pretty damn good because the volatility is very high. But the reason they're good is because there's chances that those stocks can break through those covered calls if they get a deal like this. And that's what you're getting right now. So very good deal for Iren, very good deal for those that are in this stock. And again, just going to show how strong this AI revolution is becoming for the data center plays. Bitmine right there, trying to cross 65 in the pre-markets. Again, Ethereum making a big move yesterday. Tom Lee's BMNR was the most liquid crypto treasury name yesterday, ahead of MicroStrategy. So Bitmine traded $4 billion of volume. Strategy traded $3.29 billion. And then SharpLink was actually at $323 million. But again, when we talk about SBET versus Bitmine, again, like it's a different level, right? Bitmine is trading $4 billion a day, at least yesterday. I think on average it's about $2.5 billion. SBET did $323 million yesterday. So there is a clear stock that people want to trade when it comes to being leveraged against Ethereum. And it seems like it's Bitmine. And that's why, there you go, breaking 65. It seems like that's why that stock continues to get a premium. Now, I don't think they diluted yesterday. I would not be surprised if they dilute today. If they did dilute yesterday and they dilute today and we're still able to hold these levels based on the amount of liquidity and people that are just willing to buy up those shares and potentially ETH expanding, then that would be pretty incredible for shareholders. But I think they let it run yesterday, 12%, because usually they tend to do their dilution in the middle of the week, and that could also be the reason for why. But this one right here breaking 65, for this one to go back to 50, I mean, it's possible, but you would need to see Ethereum have some weakness, and maybe we might not see it as easily. So that's what we got for Bitmine. Okay, ASTS. So the reason this stock is down right here, 6%, is because they have done $800 million of dilution, $800 million at-the-money equity offering program. Look, I don't think anyone can be upset about this. I mean, the stock was up massively over the past 2 weeks, up almost 30% after falling. Actually, no, it was up almost 100% after falling to 36 from that SpaceX Spectrum deal. So they had a lot more buyers come in. ASTS is a company that still does not have massive earnings. They're going to need to raise money. They are capital intensive. So if they're able to raise capital and dilute, and shareholders are willing to accept that dilution in a bull market, this is what you tend to do, especially if you're a legitimate company that has a legitimate thesis. You're not just diluting for the sake of it. And, given the understanding that I have of ASTS, they are a legit company. So it makes sense for them to raise some capital right here. So this stock right here down 6.5. If you bought at 72 yesterday, you're maybe a little upset. I don't even know if this dip even stays at 68. You might have some people just buy it, but it was up from 35. So given it was up from 35, I don't think that's the worst in the world. ASTS right there, 68.29. That is slightly red. PayPal, are we up? Wow, PayPal actually making a move. 5%. The only update I have on PayPal is that what was the update? The Alex Chris met with one of the heads of the investment committee in Dubai. We showed you guys that yesterday with Robinhood was there, Vlad Tenev was there, and also Alex Chris was there. So, I mean, maybe there's some collaboration more in the UAE with PayPal, but it looks like that one's getting a move, and that one's up about 4.6% right now. Oh, there's press on PayPal? Okay, hold on. What's the PayPal news? Let's see. Small business ads on PayPal announced. Oh, yeah, here we go. PayPal unleashes the power of retail media for small businesses, enabling them to join billion-dollar advertising boom. PayPal Ads Manager gives tens of millions of small businesses access to high-margin ad revenue while creating valuable new inventory for advertisers of all sizes. Okay, so PayPal ads. I mean, Amir, when he came on the channel a couple weeks ago and said he thinks it's a double in the next, what does he think? In the next 2 quarters. I mean, his entire thesis was advertising. I mean, that's at least what he told me and Arnie. So you have the first bite of what that advertising will look like. He thinks it's $1 billion run rate business like in a year. And so if that's the case, it looks like at least this is the beginning of that playing out. So PayPal launches PayPal Ads Manager. We'll see how much the street likes this as well. 74.76. Again, this company is buying back a crap ton of their stock at the same time. So maybe this could be like a fundamental catalyst that has the financial backing, given the buybacks, to really get exciting. But you got PayPal right there breaking through $74, up 4.9% on the day. So that's what we got on PayPal. Okay, AMD. So let's talk a little bit more about that from what happened yesterday. I want to go to a clip. Lisa and Greg Brockman did another interview on Bloomberg. And here's what they had to say about this deal and why it's so important. Again, it was a pretty big deal yesterday, kind of shook up the entire AI industry. Here's Lisa Su talking a little bit more about the premise of this deal.
This is certainly the largest deployment that we have announced by far. I mean, 6 gigawatts of compute. As Greg said, we're going to start with the first gigawatt in the second half of 2026 on our new next generation MI450 chip. I think the thing to understand is, these types of partnerships actually take, years to really get comfortable with the idea that we're going to, go all in together. And this is an all-in partnership in terms of building out, the AI compute that OpenAI needs for everything that they're offering to the world. So yes, it's a huge deal. And it also says a lot about, how much needs to come together for, this entire ecosystem to operate. So, we are setting up, certainly there's a lot of engineering work, but our teams are working together on hardware, software. We're ensuring the supply chain, all of those elements are set up and ready to deliver on this massive commitment.
Greg, talk us through a little bit about the players that you need to also lean on. This has been years in the making, as you say, with AMD, but what other cloud providers are involved? How are you thinking about this working with an Oracle or others out there?
Yeah, we really think of this as an industry-wide effort. And in general, we think that compute is something that does require the entire supply chain to really wake up and to really to start building much more than people were planning on. I think this starts from energy to try to get far more power to be built. Things like nuclear, I think, are going to be very important to come online. The cloud providers are an important part of this as well. So we're going to be deploying AMD in our own data centers. We'll be deploying them together with cloud providers. We have a deal with Oracle, lots of other cloud providers out there.
So Greg right there is talking about all the other cloud providers and companies that are going to be involved in the deployment of AI. Folks, Dell, another company that is going to be vital when it comes to these servers to make these GPUs effective. Dell Technologies increases its long-term financial framework at a security analyst meeting. This is this morning. Wow. Revenue growth, previous target was 3 to 4%. Now it's 7 to 9%. That is a doubling of revenue, a tripling on the high end. Annual diluted EPS growth was 8% or better. Now it's 15% or better. Again, another double. And then dividend growth commitment, 10% or more annually through fiscal year 2028. Now it's 10% or more annually through fiscal year 2030. So they're extending that by 2 years. Dell's got to be up in the pre-markets. Dell, yeah, 7%. Wow. This is quite incredible, dude. And again, this is what you want to see in sort of the context of a bull market, you really want to see other players stepping up. And Dell, SMCI, they're going to be very important when it comes to these server racks for deploying all these GPUs. Their margins aren't the best, but given that Dell is actually updating its EPS growth, diluted EPS growth, and its revenue targets by more than double on both of those categories. I mean, like they're saying, we're going to get a doubling of the top and the bottom line for this year, and we're completely changing our estimates. That means they're likely getting tons and tons of orders from the XAIs, from the OpenAIs, from the Geminis, except from the Googles, et cetera, to be able to fulfill this. SMCI, is that moving as well? Yep, SMCI up 3% as well. SMCI up 3% as well. That's pretty crazy, dude. That's pretty freaking crazy. I mean, like, I think we were all waiting for eventually what other companies were going to pop with this. By the way, Bitcoin right here, 125, and Dell, that is a hell of an upgrade for them to put out right here this morning. And it shows how confident they are about the trajectory of their business. So there you go. Dell increases its long-term financial framework at securities analyst meeting, updating revenue growth and diluted EPS growth by more than 100% on the top and the bottom line. Not bad. Not bad at all. And that one is also helping SMCI. Okay, so those are the updates on Dell and AMD. Again, Bitcoin right here just under 125, Ethereum at 4,700. We got a bunch of different headlines right here. One big headline is Polymarket is now going to be valued at about $9 billion, and the International Continental Exchange, ICE, is going to be investing in Polymarket. How much are they investing? They're investing $2 billion into Polymarket. I think the key takeaway from this, the fact that they're investing $2 billion into Polymarket, again, ICE has been around literally for hundreds of years. Polymarket's been around for like 5 years. It just goes to show how much prediction markets are becoming more important. How much prediction markets are becoming more and more important. And we're seeing this with Kalshi. We're seeing this with Robinhood. I actually did some prediction markets yesterday. I bet $1,000 on the Chiefs. The Chiefs ended up losing because the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence or something is his name, ended up making some ridiculous touchdown at the end of the game, and I lost $1,000. So it's no big deal, but nonetheless, it was fun. I had a bunch of friends I was betting with, so we were texting the whole time. It was a good experience, even though you lost $1,000. But these prediction markets are real. These prediction markets are real. By the way, I made my $1,000 back because I bought AppLovin at 578, and I sold it this morning. So I made my $1,000 back. So I'm net. Like I was like, I need to make this $1,000 back somehow. Where do I get it back from? So I bought AppLovin last night. I didn't really expect AppLovin to pop because I bought it at 578. Then it popped to 605, and I was like, bro, I'm taking my $1,000. I am taking that 1,000 and getting it back. But the point is, prediction markets are becoming very, very real. I think Robinhood, if you do the numbers, made like $500,000 off revenue off that one game last night, and it was really exciting. Now I'm not going to bet $1,000 on every game, but like that one was just a fun one that a bunch of friends were texting me about. And I do think this is a trend that's not going away anytime soon. And as a result, it looks like you have the legacy financial infrastructure like ICE, the NASDAQ, et cetera, that are probably going to be partnering with the Kalshis and Polymarkets of the world to be able to embrace the new era of prediction markets. And it doesn't look like that's going anywhere. You did revenge trading. I did exactly. I revenge traded to get my $1,000 back. I was like, no, I will not lose $1,000 because Trevor Lawrence scores some crazy touchdown at the end. It's wild, bro, because like the Chiefs are winning, you think you're good to go, and then boom, like in 2 seconds, you just lose all your money. It's like, dude, this sucks. But the thrill of winning more money would have been amazing. So that is the natural kind of instinct humans have around gambling. But it is a real thing. Prediction markets are not going anywhere, and I think they're going to become bigger and bigger over the coming years. So that's what you got right there. Now, AppLovin, I talked to a couple of friends yesterday to understand more about AppLovin. Look, I think it's cheap. I'm not making a massive position in it. I just don't know enough about the company yet, but I do think it's cheap. The SEC probe that came out yesterday feels like the Wells notice that Robinhood got 2 years ago, where like the SEC reaches out and says, hey, we think you're doing some bad stuff, and like the stock tanks, but in reality, they're not doing anything illegal. They're not doing anything bad. They're not violating some crazy moral or ethical or legal laws that the United States has around advertising targeting, just like Robinhood wasn't when it came to brokerages. So I do think that, look, at this market cap, if you look at their forward estimates, the street has them doing $6 billion of EBITDA next year. Imagine they do $7 billion. If the street's underestimating it, that's 60% growth. That would be trailing at a 50 times EBITDA multiple on a trailing 12 months with 85% margins. AppLovin has 85% margins. If you assume 40 times forward for 2027, you get to a $350 billion market cap. The market cap as of today is basically $200 billion. So do I think it's cheap? Yes, as long as this SEC probe does not turn into anything legit, which I really don't think it will, to be honest. I just don't know enough about the company to make a massive bet. But I think this SEC probe is a nothing burger. And I think if you're a bull buying this dip, you're probably going to sleep like a baby. But if you're new to the stock, you probably want to know a little bit more about it before getting into it. But yeah, I don't think AppLovin is going to be the, I don't think this is the death of AppLovin. I mean, this company just got into the S&P 500. It could happen. Maybe the SEC finds something horrible that they've been doing for the past couple of years. But it is one of the fastest growing companies in the world. It is one of the best companies in advertising tech. I don't think that this is what destroys them, but nonetheless, I do think you would want to do some more due diligence to really understand the company before you take a position right here. Ethereum 4,700, Bitcoin 124.8, AppLovin, that's up a little bit right there. Circle, that's up 2%. Pinterest is up a little bit. Enphase is up a little bit. And then Tessie is down. We'll talk about Tesla in a second. Gold is over $4,000. This is pretty incredible. Take a look at that right there. 4,002 on gold. I mean, you know what? Speaking of gold and speaking of kind of why gold is running potentially based on the dollar weakening, here's Ken Griffin yesterday who had some words about the dollar weakness and what's going on with gold.
Inflation is substantially above target and substantially above target in all forecasts for next year. I mean, it's part of the reason the dollar's depreciated by about 10% in the first half of this year. It's the single biggest decline in the US dollar in 6 months in 50 years. Gold is at record highs. And the appreciation in other dollar substitutes, to use that word loosely, in items like crypto, for example, is unbelievable. So we're seeing substantial asset inflation away from the dollar as people are looking for ways to effectively de-dollarize or de-risk their portfolios vis-a-vis US sovereign risk.
Are you really seeing that?
No, just check the price of gold.
Well,
I mean, I don't have to look very
that's a
hard.
life of its own. Yeah.
What?
It's a life of its own, gold.
No, but it's a life of its own as you see sovereigns around the world, as you see central banks around the world, as you see individual investors around the world go, you know what? I now view gold as a safe harbor asset in a way that the dollar used to be viewed. That's what's really concerning to me. And there's been plenty of published research in recent weeks, months, about foreign investors now when they buy US equities, hedging the returns back to their local currency. So that, again, is a bifurcation of I'm going to bet on American business, but I want to immunize some of my sovereign exposure to the United States.
Okay, so you got Ken Griffin basically saying, dude, just look at the price of gold, look at what's happening right now, and tell me that the dollar does not have some fundamental concerns, not only as the reserve currency of the world, but also as the asset class that everyone relies on, aka US Treasuries, to be able to hoard their cash. Like, people are rather going to gold than cash because they have less faith in the United States inflation expectations and debt expectations and deficit expectations versus an asset like gold, which, to be honest, is not the craziest idea in the world. Like, yeah, I mean, more people are trusting gold over the USD. I don't know what the long-term implications of that are, but I think as more and more developed economies realize that their debt and their deficits are not really attractive to international investors when it comes to financing their countries via treasuries, there's going to be a rotation. And ironically, what this means is we're likely going to have to lower rates, because the only way you can really, well, the sort of flip side of this argument is you incentivize investors to buy treasuries by raising rates so that it gives them a better return. But if we know that the Fed's on a cutting cycle, maybe some of those investors get into treasuries before rates come down significantly in order to get at least whatever rate they can get today, or they all just go into gold. And do I think everyone's going to go into gold and US treasuries, Japanese treasuries are going to fall apart? No, although the Japanese 30-year bond is making you think that people don't care about Japanese treasuries anymore. But nonetheless, gold is having a run. And I don't know the last time gold has been up 50% in a year. If someone can find that stat, I would love to know. But it has doubled since 2024. And the last time it had a doubling, it took 10 years, from 2010 to 2020. So it is quite incredible how this is playing out. At the end of the day, if cash is trash, and as Goldman said a couple weeks ago, that you'd want to be anywhere besides cash, then equities, Bitcoin, Ethereum, gold, etc., real estate, all these assets are likely going to catch a bid. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. So that's what you got with gold. Tesla right here at 447. All right, so we have no confirmation on what Tesla will be announcing today. They didn't put out any tweets, any press releases. However, they did say on 10/7, which is today, they will be announcing something. Bloomberg unveiled last night that it is likely a new affordable Model Y. So my question for everyone in the chat right here, and I asked this on Twitter last night, is what price does this car need to be to become affordable? I'm saying minimum 35,000. Realistically, you need to be below 35,000. And the source code that a lot of people looked under the hood when because some people kind of their websites in their locations had some updates and like they were showing some screenshots, shows the new Model Y at $39,990, which to me, I'm sorry, that's not affordable. Like if you're trying to compete with the real affordable cars that are out there, which like, dude, there's certain used cars that are getting expensive right now. So when you talk about affordability on a premium vehicle, that's already going to have some of its premiumness stripped out of it because of the fact that it's like a crappier version of the regular Model Y. It needs to actually be cheap. And I don't think $40,000 is cheap by any sense of the imagination. Realistically, 30,000 starts to become a conversation. 35 still is not that cheap. So if they come out with a $40,000 Model Y, dude, I don't know. I don't know if the stock's going to love that. The stock's already down 1.2%, I think, based off the idea that investors are thinking, hey, maybe this is not going to be as affordable as we thought. But likely there will be a Model Y introduction today. I don't know if it's going to be some event. I don't know if it's going to be a live stream. I don't know if it's just going to be a press release. But we'll find out throughout the day what we see for Tesla. Yeah, most of you guys are saying 35,000 or below. Most people are at 30,000. I don't know. We're going to see. But it's gonna need to be something better than 40 grand. Now, again, would 40 grand get some buyers? Yeah, but now that the EV subsidy is going away, you need something really compelling to get people to buy. And look, if I'm Tesla, again, if Elon said the difference between this company being worth many trillions and the company being worth literally zero is FSD, why not make it 25,000, lose money on the car, right? Lose a ton of money on the car. They're going to lose thousands of dollars on the car and just make FSD so good or give a year of FSD for free or something to get people to pay that $8,000 or $100 a month for FSD. And I know it's easier said than done, but maybe that's the way they have to go to really get FSD into the hands of millions of drivers, is make the car so cheap to get them to actually buy the car against their competitors and then just give them FSD for free. And, hopefully that allows them to legit use FSD. But not sure if that's the way it's going to play out. So look, I don't know if we get a press release. I don't know if we get an event. I'll try to be live when we cover it, but we'll find out throughout the day when Tesla announces something, and hopefully whatever they announce will be bullish for the stock as well. Fets, thank you for the $10 super chat. Appreciate it. Nick, thank you for becoming a channel member. And Gene, my brother, thank you for the 100,000 subscribers in the super chat. We did get this yesterday from YouTube. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed over the past 4 years. It means the absolute world. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And again, this is not because of me. This is because of all of us coming together as a community. So really, really, really means the world. And we got that 100K. We got that 100K. So thank you, Gene. Appreciate it. And thank you for being here. Again, the reason why PayPal is up is because they launched Ad Manager for small businesses. That's why that stock is getting a little bit of a lift. PayPal right there. We got the market open in 15 minutes. PayPal up 5% on the day, 74.85. And that is green. SoFi. All right. So what's going on? Why is SoFi green? Well, does anyone know? Hold on. Before I say it, does anyone know? Put in the chat. Why do you think SoFi is green? I think people missed this story this morning. And I'm very curious, who are the SoFi bulls that actually know why it's getting a 3% move right here? Because it's not just technical, it's not just crypto stuff, it's not BitGo. It's not BitGo, it's not crypto. I don't think it's just algos. Okay, only a couple of you guys have it. Most of you guys saying crypto, it's not crypto. Miss KM has it and Kiwi Capital has it. Student loans, folks. The Trump administration is weighing selling parts of a $1.6 trillion federal student loan portfolio. So basically, Trump is saying, hey, we've got a lot of crappy loans on the U.S. balance sheet. We are more focused on high-performing loans, not the crappy loans that are out there. And we're thinking of selling some of this loan portfolio. Guess one of the companies that could step up to deal with all of those loans? SoFi. So, I mean, this actually is very logical for SoFi to be in this position right here. And, there's massive refinancing demand for auto loans, home loans, student loans as rates come down. If you're in a really crappy loan with the federal government and that loan gets sold to SoFi, and SoFi can give you a much better rate on that loan and much better terms on that loan, and monetize it better than the federal government would, because SoFi's underwriting, their AI within their underwriting, their natural credit history of underwriting, all of those components theoretically should be better than the federal government, and they make some revenue off that. I mean, that's very bullish. Now, imagine they do that to the tune of a couple $100 billion if the government's trying to sell off, at least $300-400 billion off that 1.6 trillion. Maybe not all of it goes to SoFi, but if a decent chunk of it goes to SoFi, that could be very, very bullish. Now, if SoFi gets some of these loans that are crappy, which I trust Anthony Noto a lot on his ability to underwrite. I mean, if you've applied for a SoFi loan, you've got to be in a pretty decent situation to even get a personal loan from them. I remember back in 2023, Chris got rejected from a person, and Chris does well for himself, and he still got rejected. So it's like they are pretty diligent on who they give loans to, and I think this could be tailwind. I think this could be a good tailwind for them. So we're gonna see how that plays out, but I think that's why that stock is green, and that along with some of the crypto news last week is probably what's helping them as well. Now, your boy Noto did throw some shots at Hood last night. He retweeted a post talking about the tens of thousands of Robinhood users that were unable to access their accounts amid an outage after the AMD surge. Which, look, it's it got Robinhood threw some shots at the Hood Summit by shorting SoFi in their demo. They didn't show the ticker, but like if you zoomed in, you kind of saw the ticker. And it was SoFi. It was $25.84. And Tanner was like, SoFi is $25. And I was like, yeah, but a lot of stocks are 25. He's like, no, but what if they're doing this to SoFi? I was like, no way. And then he zoomed in. He's like, oh my goodness, they're shorting SoFi. So Noto with a little bit of a clapback right there, retweeting the Robinhood outage. So a little back and forth between SoFi and Robinhood, but nonetheless, I do think it's bullish for SoFi. 27.28. That's up 3.4% in the pre-markets. Okay, so Trump is taking another stake in a company, TMQ. That stock is up 240%. Yesterday, they announced, the Trump administration, that they are going to be repealing regulations from the Biden era in Alaska. And a lot of those regulations made it hard for companies like Trilogy Metals to mine for rare earth minerals and a variety of other things, right? A variety of other commodities like copper, gold, and silver. And so MBs, thank you for the super chat. AMKR is actually one of the companies that benefits from this with chip reshoring. And that stock right here is up 10% in the pre-market. Amcor Technology. And you're seeing some momentum in a variety of names that are associated with kind of what's going on. So once again, it does seem like the Trump administration is turning into a VC fund. And I can't say I hate it. I would hate it if he's taking a controlling stake in companies that actually like have a meaningful impact on the United States in terms of like Meta, Google, Facebook, Amazon, etc. But like with these companies that are more rooted in national security around rare earth minerals and lithium, I don't know if it's, and semiconductors with chips with Intel, I don't know. I don't know if it's the craziest idea for them to have a little bit of a stake and support those companies as well. And obviously, if you've been able to catch these names before the stake was announced, or even in the midst of the stake being announced, then you've been able to make a lot of money. So TMQ is the name on this one, up 239%. Do you jump in? I don't know. This is still a micro cap. Market cap is 340 million. I mean, like, is this 247% just beginning, or is this the run? That's the hard thing on these. And for Lithium Americas, if you thought, when it pumped to 670, that was the run from $4, you had been wrong, because it went up to another 860, right? It went up another $2. Same thing with Intel. It kind of, got pumped up all the way to 31. Now it's at 37. So it's one of those things where you're going to have to just take a chance if you're in it. But the government is deciding to get more excited around establishing some stakes in these companies. What happens to these stakes when Trump leaves office? Well, I think we still have these stakes. It's just going to be up to the next administration to either divest in them because they don't want to have these stakes in these companies, or it's going to be up to the administration to nurture those stakes and continue to have relationships with the companies to make sure that those stakes can continue to thrive. I mean, it'll be up to the next administration, but essentially Trump is creating a VC fund inside of the US Treasury, and it'll be up to the next administration to decide what they want to do with that fund. but it has created a lot of opportunities for a bunch of different names that are in the space. Okay, let's get an update with the shutdown. So again, Trump said yesterday that they are now in negotiations with the Democrats. Here is a little bit more coverage on what's going on, and then we'll keep going from there.
Democrats on extending those Affordable Care Act tax credits. That opens up a potential off-ramp here for the government shutdown. But Trump did come back, caveat his comments with a post on Truth Social, saying that he was happy to work with the Democrats on their failed healthcare policies or anything else. But first, they must allow our government to reopen. And that stance from Trump mirrors the stance of a number of Senate Republicans that I spoke with last night. All of them said they're open to talks, but they're on hold right now until the government reopens. And Senator Susan Collins is actually circulating a plan that promises to address those healthcare subsidies once the government is back funded again. Now, Trump is not the only Republican who actually seems interested in an extension. We've certainly heard from a lot of moderate Republicans who are interested, but last night, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted that while she is not a fan of the Affordable Care Act, something needs to be done about those expiring subsidies. She posted that when the tax credits expire this year, my own adult children's insurance premiums for 2026 are going to double, along with all the wonderful families and hardworking people in my district. Nearly 11% of those in Greene's Georgia district are enrolled in the ACA marketplace. That's according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. But for now, the shutdown stalemate is continuing. The Senate voted again and failed again last night to fund the government. But one of the crossovers who had voted yes, Maine Senator Angus King, he's an independent but caucuses with the Democrats, said he's now considering changing his yes to a no if Republicans aren't more forthcoming with discussions over those health care premiums. Another vote on the temporary funding is expected today. And guys, at this point, we expect that one to fail as well. But of course, we'll be keeping a close eye to see if there's any breakthrough in these negotiations. Mike?
So as you can see, I mean, you think you're getting close and then you lose some of your own voters. I mean, it's not the best thing for the Republicans right now. They're going to have to really find some meaningful ways to negotiate with the Democrats right here. And look, given Trump yesterday admitted that they've started to negotiate, I think that's at least positive because 3 days ago they weren't even talking. So at least they're starting to talk a little bit more. But we're going to see how this ends up playing out. I mean, look, if it ends up going till Friday or Sunday, then it's about a week and a half. If it ends up going another week, then it's it's basically in the top 3 shutdowns of all time in terms of length. So they've got to get this thing done by Monday for it to not get to those new records. And hopefully some of this negotiating with the Democrats is going to allow them to get closer to a deal. But we're going to find out over the coming days. Pre-markets, Intel, that's at 3670. Grab 661. Okay, breaking over the 660s. Triple V, thank you for the $200 super chat, and thank you for being here. Mr. Triple V does have 6 million shares of this bad boy. He bought another 1 million shares last week when it was at $6. So thank you again for the super chat. Grab right here. Look, this is really exciting to see the 661 breakout because it hit 662 last time 2 weeks ago, and then it fell all the way. Wow, 663. Holy crap. All right, that's a new 52-week high in the pre-markets. It doesn't count because it's the pre-markets, but still, that is nice to see. It got to 662 2 weeks ago, then it closed below $6 last week. And that was kind of the scary part because, you know, when you close below certain key levels, it's like, if you get stuck there, you get stuck there and you might never come back. But Grab has somehow come back. And hopefully in the pre-markets or when the market opens, we'll see what happens if this ends up dumping, which I kind of expect because that's what happens when the market opens for Grab, or if this momentum can continue. I did disclose my position yesterday on X, so a lot of people have been asking how many shares I have. I have 37,500 shares, so that is the position. Average cost is $5.98. The average on my options is $4.50. But and I bought all of those in January and I haven't added to them since. So my options have done better than my shares because the average is a lot lower. But the shares I've been buying more. I've been averaging up. And I don't know, dude. My conviction is pretty strong. I really do think $7.50 to $8 by end of year is very possible. And then my target is $10 by 2027. I think they got a year to get to that $10 range from 2026. I don't think that's crazy. And I think this is going to be a good quarter. Now, could this be a quarter that fundamentally re-rates the business? I don't know. But I think there's a shot. And if so, then it could get could get very exciting. But it's really cool to see it back to these levels, dude. Because sometimes you make those levels, it's a one-off thing, got some volume, and then people just forget about it. They get bored of it. They say, we don't care. And then it falls back, and then it's just stuck in purgatory. The fact that it's actually making a comeback shows that there is excitement. And I don't think it's just retail. You know, it's getting 60 million shares a day. You would imagine some of that's institutional. And some of that probably was buying up when it fell below 6 to get it back to these levels. So when the market opens, we are going to see what can happen with Grab and if momentum can continue. NVIDIA trying to get back to 187 again yesterday. Very small dip to 185 after the AMD news was not bullish or was not bearish at all for NVIDIA. But that stock trying to get back to 187. Reddit right there is up 1.3%. Amazon's at 221. Meta, we bought 5 shares at 696. Still have those shares. Now it's at 719. BMNR breaking 65, baby. It was at 65.15. Now just below 65. It could be a very fun day if Ethereum makes a little bit of a run as well. So we just got to see how this one ends up playing out when the market opens. Again, we got about 4 minutes till the market opens. S&P right there, 672. Iren, that was a big winner today, 61.13. That's up 5% as they have a deal to access more GPUs. And that one is getting some love. By the way, FSD 14 is out. I have not updated my Tesla yet to it. I don't think I have the update yet. But FSD 14.1, the first in the V14 series, has officially started rolling out to different customers. If you get FSD 14, I would love to know people's experiences. The biggest issue I have with FSD right now is that, you know, you check your phone for a millisecond and it'll stop FSD and it'll say that, you know, you can't use it anymore for like the remainder of the drive. And like it just has to get a little bit better at the nagging, because there are certain situations where, you know, even if you look out the window, it's like, hey, pay attention to the road. And it's like, I think they could get a little bit better on that, but the overall driving on FSD 13.2 has been amazing. Like I have not had a lot of issues with the actual driving. So hopefully FSD 14 also continues to do well, and we will see when more people get it. AMD price targets. We got a bunch this morning. Morgan Stanley from 168 to 246. Piper Sandler from 190 to 240. Jefferies 300. Barclays 200 to 300. Cantor Fitzgerald 200 to 275. Bernstein, which is one of the biggest AMD bears, 140 to 200. Deutsche Bank at 200. Truist at 273. So you got price targets across the board for advanced money duplicator that is starting to really show some momentum. And although AMD did not get all-time highs yesterday, 215 right here in the pre-markets, I don't know, wouldn't be crazy if it can break above that 220 level again. And it would be very nice if it can do that. Amit, how many hours till the Tesla event? We don't know if there is even going to be an event. We don't know when the event is, if it's at night, if it's a press release, if it's a live stream. We have no details. Tesla has not given us anything. All we know is that Bloomberg reported it's probably going to be a car, a new affordable Model Y. So I will try to keep updated with you guys throughout the day. And if they randomly go live, I'll try to stream. But if I had to bet, I would say it's late at night. And if my plan B would say it might just be a press release. It might not even be an event. Which if that's the case, then, you know, we'll see how the market interprets that when it comes through. So that's what we got on Tesla. All right, we got the market open in about 40 seconds. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Again, thank you, everybody, for the 100,000 subscribers. It absolutely means the world. I would not be here without you guys. I would be nowhere without people actually wanting to consume the content every single day. And the fact that people get value out of it, it is deeply, deeply humbling. The fact that people watch this show from all parts of the world and all different situations and comes together to join this community, I mean, it just means a lot. It really means a lot. So thank you, everybody, so much for being here. Once again, it is 9:30, Tuesday, October 7th. And ladies and gentlemen, the stock market is now open. All right, wake your ass up. Let's get into it. AMD, 217. That's up 7% on the day. 217, making a nice little bounce from the 203 close that I got, up $14, 217 on AMD. Tesla is down 1.3%. NVIDIA, that's up 0.45%. Palantir, 0.372, 180.29. That is green. Hoodie, 145.68. That is up 1% on the day. SoFi getting some love, 27.17. That's up 3% on the day. Again, off the news, in my opinion, of Trump selling parts of the student loan portfolio. That has not fully been confirmed, but the rumors are that he wants to sell some parts of that portfolio. And a buyer for that portfolio could be SoFi. NVIDIA right there, 186.79. SoFi again up 3.2%. AMD up 6%. Grabby grab 655. Holding the 650s. The big challenge is 662. Can we break 662? That is the number we got to look out for. And if we can, maybe the 670s are coming up. PayPal, that's up 3%. Goes down a little bit from the pre-market. It was up 5%. But now it's up 3%, so still holding some momentum. SMCI, that's up 3%. Dell, again, for those that missed it, Dell increased their financial projections by double on the top and the bottom line, likely because there's a ton of more demand from OpenAI, XAI, et cetera, for servers, which is also super bullish for SMCI because they're in the same business. SMCI right there up 3% as well. And it is nice to see those companies get some of this momentum. Uber, that's up 0.5%. MicroStrategy, that's down a little bit. Microsoft, that's down a little bit. AppLovin, 597. It was at 615, now back down right below 600. But at least it's up a little bit from that 540 low that we saw after hours yesterday. S&P again, 672. Robinhood at 145.82. Oscar, so Trump said some bullish stuff about ACA subsidies yesterday, and that's why Oscar is getting some love. Now it is down below 25. It did hit 25.30 yesterday in the after hours. Right now at 23, but that's still up about 3.4%, and it's up from $12 2 months ago. So this one is basically doubled and doing very well for Oscar shareholders. Verizon, they had a new CEO. I forgot to mention this yesterday, but Dan Schulman, the former PayPal CEO, who, you know, a lot of people associate with the reason PayPal fell from $300 to like $50. He's now the CEO of Verizon. I don't know how bullish that is, but nonetheless, he has taken over for Verizon. That stock right there up about 0.32%. Duolingo, that's up a little bit. Disney's up a little bit. XYZ Square, that's up a little bit. Iren's down 8%. Really? Well, okay, so it's down 8% from the pre-markets, but it's down 1% if you look at yesterday's price. Yeah, okay, so 65, it wasn't able to hold in the pre-markets. I don't think that's that crazy. I mean, look, the deal they announced today was really good, but again, Iren is up 500% in the past 3 months. So yeah, it might be hard for it to hold on to some of that momentum, but it is giving up a lot of the gains that it had in the pre-market, but it's not actually down 8% on the day yet. It's down 1.4%. Hopefully that can hold the 50s, which again, I still think is a win for Iren. Meta right there, 714, that goes red. Kraken Robotics, that's up 13%. Kraken, what's the ticker for Kraken Robotics? Let's see. I heard a couple people talking about this one yesterday. Oh, this is OTC. Okay, so we're not gonna be able to see that, but this one is OTC. I have seen some more people talk about that one. ELF, that's up 0.29. SMCI again, almost up 4%. And then Ethereum 4,700. Bitmine, are we holding 64? 64.20. 64.20 on Bitmine. Not that bad. Again, the company that Trump is buying a stake in, TMQ, from Alaska, 730. That's up 250%. That is the latest addition to the portfolio of Trump companies. And that is green. Grab still holding 650. We fell below it for a couple of seconds at 648. Holding 650 would be very bullish, but we got to see if we can hold on to that level. You definitely have some sellers that are taking profits right now. So holding 650 would be important. Amazon right there is at 220. Hoodie at 145. Then Palantir at 180. Open was up 15% yesterday because the CEO said they're going to be accepting Bitcoin and other forms of crypto for payments for houses. I don't know exactly how that's going to play out. They would functionally become a crypto treasury if you bought your house in Bitcoin, right? Because they have to store the Bitcoin somewhere. So Open Door right there. It is down about 3%, but it did pump 15% yesterday, which is green. Gold is at 4,000. Quite incredible. Commodities continue to do well. Where are the copper miners right there? That's up about 1.72% on the day. And then silver continuing to get some love as well, along with gold. AppLovin, that one, 602, back above 600. SoFi, AMD as well, making a nice move. SoFi, are we above 28? We are at 27.41. That's up 4%. And then AMD did get to 218.9. Breaking over 220 would be very nice. Now right back here to 217. And that's what you got. Again, SMCI, I think, is benefiting from that Dell news. If Dell's raising their projections from 4% revenue growth to 8% revenue growth, and from 8% EPS growth to 15% EPS growth, that's all based on the back of more demand. And you would imagine SMCI is probably benefiting from that demand as well, which is why SMCI right there is up 4%. Apple, are we getting some love on Apple? 256, slightly green. IBM launched a partnership with Anthropic today. IBM, that's up 3%. I did not see that. I'll pull that up. IBM and Anthropic. I mean, it makes sense. They probably should be working with all the LLMs that are out there. IBM announced a partnership to accelerate the development of enterprise-ready AI by infusing Claude into IBM's software portfolio to deliver measurable productivity gains while building security, governance, and cost controls directly into the lifecycle of software development. All right, there you go. Lots of these LLMs will likely try to partner with these legacy tech companies. Let's take a look at Quantum today. QBTS 3631, basically at all-time highs. 37 it hit, was an all-time high. That's up 3.5%. Rigetti continuing to get some love. That's up another 4.2%. And then IONQ, that is also 1%. So all the quantum names continue to outperform. And, I know there was a lot of controversy last week with IONQ, but that stock's almost touching at $80 right now. There it is right there at 80. So all of those going green as we get into this market open. Ethereum right there, 47.53, and then Bitcoin 124. CleanSpark was running because of Iren, 18.59. That one's actually holding up. Ironically, Iren is down, even though the reason for CleanSpark going up is because of Iren. Now Iren goes green, down from the pre-market levels, but 58.14. That's up. Grab loses 650. It's very close to 650. Hopefully it doesn't lose 640. Trying to hold on. You got volume of 4 million coming in, so you do have some volume to the downside right there as Grab tries to maintain that 650 level. NVIDIA back to 187. NVIDIA back to 187. Again, gold above 4,000. I'm getting a ton of notifications. It is a pretty big deal to see gold above 4,000. If you do have gold, then congrats. But the fact that it's actually making a move like that is quite incredible. Quite incredible. 4,004 for gold. Amazon almost 223. Okay, getting Amazon. This one's been oscillating between 218 and 220 for a while. Amazon making a little bit of a move. How about Rocket Lab? ASTS did some, wow, Rocket Lab almost 60. Look at that, 59.55. ASTS did some dilution today. That's why that stock is down, but it's barely down. I mean, it was down 7%. The pre-market's now is down 2%. Dude, Space Mob's different. Space Mob is different. 800, almost $1 billion of dilution and no one cares in Space Mob. That is incredible. That is incredible. Shout out to ASTS. I mean, pretty fantastic performance, even with that dilution. It just goes to show you how passionate the shareholders are in the belief they have of this company long-term. Circle right there, that's up 1.73. AppLovin getting back to 612 with a bit of recovery. I have not bought Next Decade yet. Next Decade right there, 723. Again, I don't think anyone should even care if I buy Next Decade, because if I buy it, it's something I like. Literally, you would have to hold it for, as the name of the company says, the next decade, right? That was good. That was that. I deserve some credit for that one. But this is not a stock you trade in and out of. It's just not. And Matt has said this so many times, but people still don't believe him when he says, if you buy this, you're holding it for 10 years. Like, you either believe him or you don't, but you cannot track the day-to-day and care that much about what's happening with Next Decade when they're still in the very early innings of developing their pipeline. So this is a name. If you buy it, you have to hold it. For like, VG is different. VG actually has revenues and pipelines, and they're producing oil and gas. But Next Decade, it's a bit more speculative. And Matt has said this many times, but it's going to take time for that to play out. VG, that one is already showing some revenues. That one's down about 2.9% on the day. Red Cat, that's up a little bit after the upgrade they got the other day. And then Baba, that one is also flat. SoFi still holding on to 4%. Still holding on to 4%. Galaxy, that's up 5%. All right, so Iren, that deal got all the different AI HPC transitioned companies from Bitcoin miners to get some love. How about Nebius? That hit 135 yesterday, 126. So that one's slightly selling off. Selling off from 135, but the stock is still doing very well. And then Hoodie selling off a little bit right here from 146 down to 144. Okay, not too crazy. I mean, it's kind of a flat market open. I mean, you got some green with a SoFi. You got a nice, $12 candle with an AMD. You got NVIDIA trying to get back to 187, but S&P is relatively flat. Bitcoin and Ethereum flat from yesterday. And then BMNR 6540. Okay, so that one's moving. Let's see, can it cross 66? If it does, I mean, last time it was at 70. Last time it was at 70 was August 14th. It hit 72, August 14th. So it's been about a month and a half since it got back to those levels in the 70s. But if it does, that'd be very exciting. Big Bear AI, how about that one? That's down about 1% as well. That is down about 1%. Ondas, drone company. This one's been great. Dude, I saw a screenshot of someone who had 100,000 shares and he sold it at $1.40. $100 is $11. It's just wild, bro. This stock has basically made a 10x in a couple months. By the way, take a look at this screenshot right here. Someone bought an AMD 190 call for $46,000. They sold it yesterday for 1.1 million. So they bought it October 2nd. They sold it October 6th for what they turned 46K into 1.1 million. It's kind of wild, bro. It's kind. I mean, like this is the type of money that some retail investors have been able to make off making some bets. Now, granted, who puts $46,000 into a call option that's $30 out of the money, expiring in 2 weeks? Either a total degenerate or someone that might know something's about to happen. You know, like it's one or the other. But nonetheless, they made some good money on that. Palantir, all right, 2.3% move, 183. Again, basically back to where we were with Citron shorting. If we break 184, it'll be exactly where we were. We did break 184, actually. This would be the second go around. Yep, there you go, 184. Yeah, the next catalyst is earnings for Palantir. We got to see when we can get there. But 184.29 is what we have for Palantir. 190 is that all-time high. Celsius, are we moving? Celsius is up 1.2%. Okay, TSSI, we did a deep dive on this like 2 months ago. The reason this is up 14% is because they're the main supplier for Dell's servers in Texas. So if Dell's increasing their financial projections by double, they're likely going to give a lot of business to TSSI. And so that's why that stock is moving. I don't own a position in this, but we did a deep dive on this 2 months ago. We had Josh come on the channel and he explained his thesis on it. So if you're in this, congrats. But the Dell upgrade on financials is likely why this one's getting some love. Tesla below 450. App 624. Okay. Looks like the street's not too upset about it. I mean, granted, it's down from 745, but 545 was a lot lower than where it is today right there. 624, that's up 7% on the day. If you bought the dip on App 11, you are getting some momentum right there. 627. That is green. CRML is crashing. Well, the reason they're crashing is because the United States is not actually investing in them. And they came out yesterday and said, we are not investing in critical metals. So that's why that one is down from that 14 level that it was at yesterday. USAR, that one's making a move. Rare earth minerals, that's up 10%. MP, that is also up about 5%. And then SoFi trying to get back up to that $28 level. BMNR, we still holding 65. Ethereum went down a little bit, 63.83. If this even holds the 60s, I think people will be happy. But if we can break through 65, it would be very, very dope. SoFi, very close to 28. No, we broke 28 already. Just below 28 right here, 27.96. All right, if you bought the dip at 25 or at 26, congrats. Maybe we don't revisit that. Again, I sold puts that I think expired this week at 24, 27.97. And that's student loan news along with the crypto stuff yesterday. That to me together should be enough to hopefully get this one to make a move. Ford shares fall 4% after the Wall Street Journal reported that the company's supplier is being fired, which is expected to disrupt the business for months. Oh boy. Okay, so Ford, that one, yeah, down 4.5%. 4% is actually a big move for Ford. Like this name trades a lot of volume, but it's really not volatile. So a lot of people just day trade it or sell options on it. That is a big move for Ford. By the way, Schwab came out yesterday and they put out their top client buys and sells in September. Top buys were NVIDIA, Palantir, Amazon, Oracle, and Open. Top sells were Tesla, Apple, Baba, Micron, and SMCI. So for everyone that says Robinhood users are degenerate, I mean, you got the Schwab literally aggregate buys and sells having Open Door in the top 5. Not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's Open Door compared to like NVIDIA, right? But Open Door is up there. And then top sells, you have Tesla, Apple, Baba, Micron, and SMCI. So these are the top 5 buys and sells in the month of September. They said overall aggregate buying was better than selling or more than selling, and that the Mag 7 was not the only name that was traded. It was more diverse than just trading the Mag 7 across the month of September. Rocket Lab 60. Did we get it? Did we get it? Wow, 60. $60 on Mr. Rocket Lab. We haven't rung the bell for Rocket Lab in a long time. I think we got to ring the bell. Congratulations, $60 for those in Rocket Lab. So I have 2,500 shares of Rocket Lab, $26 average. So I'm in this one. I don't pay attention too much to this name because honestly, I just, you guys and Matt love it. And I'm like, all right, whatever. It's a little SpaceX. That's my thesis. It's something I don't dive super deep on. Maybe Rocket Lab is worth doing a real deep dive on, but it's definitely worth spending some time on it. But I don't think too much about this name. I just, I like Peter Beck. I do think it's a little SpaceX. It's a freaking $29 billion company. SpaceX is at almost 500 billion. I imagine in 10 years, they'll be hopefully at that level. And so that's why I hold on to it. But there you go, $60. That is green, baby, on Rocket Lab. Congratulations to those that are in it. 60.36, up 3% on the day. ASTS as well, 71.27. 71.27. Not bad. Not bad for Mr. Lab of Rockets. There you go. Iren, are we still red on that? Iren 58.30. That's a little green. Hoodie is losing its juice. All right. So there's two reasons why Hood's probably going down. Number one, I mean, maybe based on the outage yesterday, some people just hated that Hood was down for 20 minutes and that's why they're selling it off. That could be a reason. I can't confirm that, but that could be a reason. Number two is that the stock was up 20% last week. So along with Nebius, I think it's very reasonable for them to take breathers. And it's very confusing to me to see people on Twitter that are like upset that Nebius and Hood are down from their all-time highs. It's like, dude, Nebius was less than 100 2 weeks ago. Hood was Hood was basically in September 9th. It was less than 100. It was 97 right before the S&P inclusion. So it is not normal for names to go up as much as they've gone up with Hood and Nebius, but it happens when you have really phenomenal companies, but you also have pullbacks after they have those massive runs. So I think this is very healthy, very normal. I'm not concerned one bit about it. In fact, if both these names were to fall more, I think the uber bulls of these names would be like open to understanding why that's the case. And so as annoying as it might be for some people, you just can't be that upset given the run that they've had. So Nebius right there, 125. Hood is down 1%. Is crypto dumping? Could that be the reason? Oh, Bitcoin just went red. Oh, you got some people selling crypto. I mean, that's probably the reason why Hood's going down. Ethereum loses 4,700. Bitcoin a little bit more aggressive. Lost 125. Now back down to 123.6. So Bitcoin a little worse than Ethereum. AppLovin 630. There you go. If you bought the dip on AppLovin, congrats. Not bad. 7% on the day. That one getting some recovery. And then Hoodie, 142. AMD, that's still up 5. SoFi back above 28. Grab playing with 650. Really flirting with it right there, 648. And then Rock Lab, are we holding on to 60? We are breaking through 60, folks. Let me check resistance at 61 for Mr. Rocket Lab and see if we're getting a move. And Tesla as well, back to 450. 61 resistance on Rock Lab, 4,000 shares. That's not a lot. That is not a lot for it to potentially break out to. Amazon 220 and then Meta. That one is also flat. Google's dumping too. Yeah, hold on. Let's look at the heat map. What do we got going on? Got a lot of different names that are going red right here. Okay, so heat map's green, but it's very slight green. NVIDIA, Apple, barely up. Financials are up a little bit more. Berkshire's up a little bit. Healthcare's down. Google, Meta, Tesla, Oracle, Microsoft, Broadcom, Walmart, Costco are down. Home Depot's down. And then industrials are slightly up. Netflix actually getting a rebound after that whole controversy last week. So Netflix right there up 2%. Looks like maybe the street's moving on from that. That's getting a little bit of momentum. Jensen will be on Kramer today at 4 p.m. Jensen will be on Kramer today at 4 p.m. So we'll take a look at what Jensen has to say. But he will be live on the market close. 188 on NVIDIA. 191 is what we got to break for all-time highs. Nice to see this break 188. This thing actually fell yesterday on the AMD deal to 185, or actually got to 183. So breaking through 188 is nice. Then AMD right there at 214. Again, USAR, rare earth minerals, a lot of that getting some benefit. And That one is up 12% on the day. Do you think SoFi could be added to the Trump strategic reserve portfolio? I don't think so. I don't think the loans they have are enough for it to be a national security issue. For them to take a stake in SoFi. Again, the companies they're taking stakes in, there's a very specific reason they're taking stakes in, and it has to do with like the health of the country and like if we don't have rare earth minerals, if we don't have semiconductor chips and national security, like really bad things can happen. So I don't think they would take a stake in a neobank. But if SoFi could take a stake in some of the loans that the Trump administration wants to get rid of, that could be bullish for SoFi. Energy still catching a bid. Centrus Energy, look at that. Wow, 7% for LEU. That's getting some love today. How about Oklo? That is basically flat on the day. All of these nuclear names are up about 10%. Nano's up 8%. That's weird. NNE usually goes up with Oklo. They're kind of going the opposite today. And then SMR, that's also up 4%. So Oklo's flat. Nano and NuScale are green. How about Bloom Energy? That one is up 3.5% on the day. And then XLE, the energy ETF, that one is slightly down on the day. The Chevrons, the Exxons are not really getting that much love, but these new energy names are the ones that are really benefiting from this like AI tailwind. Tesla right back to 451. Right back to 451. Okay, Archer's down today because it looks like Bloomberg's reporting that Tesla's going to be putting out a Model Y contradicts the narrative that Tesla was going to have a partnership with Archer, which, look, maybe they still will. But it's still up 10% from yesterday, but it was up like 20%. Now it's back down. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're having a partnership with Tesla, but if they do, that would be really bullish. If they don't, then I think a lot of people just got very excited on the idea of that. So it looks like that's why that's down today. Coinbase right there, 1.7%. How about Joby? Joby right there, 1981, up 1.2. 1981. Okay, what else do we have? Whatever headlines do we have? What else? PayPal breaking through 75. That's nice. It's been a while since you've seen that. I think we had that a couple weeks ago, and then it fell right under. So it's nice to be back into 75. SoFi's up 7%. APLD, I think, is tomorrow, if I'm not wrong. APLD, so we have earnings this week of, Thursday. APLDs and Levi's are after hours, and then in the morning, we're going to have Pepsi, Delta, and Tilray. So Thursday will be the first day we start off earnings going into Q3 season. Here is the stock draft. Matt is now in first place because of Rock Lab, 42.5. I'm at 42.2. So Matt is back in first place. Rock Lab and ASTS really helping him out. Tanner's at 25. Steve's at 8.7. Chris is at 13. Matt is back at number 1. And that is with Rock Lab getting to all-time highs. Look, I think 61 is not crazy. Got to 60.7. Got to 60.7. Amit, can you help me understand BM&R when they dilute millions of shares to buy ETH? Does our ETH per share lower or higher because they dilute millions of shares to buy thousands of ETH? So it theoretically should be higher, as Tom Lee explained. For dilution to be accretive for shareholders, they need to dilute and they need to buy more Ethereum immediately. And then ETH needs to appreciate, which increases the ETH per share. So when they dump more shares on the market, technically your ETH per share will go down because they dump more shares and there's more parts of the pie. And there's stable Ethereum and there's more parts of the pie, which means when you divide that, you get a less ETH per share. But when they buy more Ethereum and Ethereum appreciates, then that accelerates the overall ETH per share. And sort of my thesis on BM&R is I can't buy ETH as fast as Tom Lee. And I definitely can't do it in a creative financial instrument that allows me to have more ETH per share. And so if you believe in the long-term idea around Ethereum, just like if you believe in the long-term idea around Bitcoin, MicroStrategy buying it faster than you could buy it because Sailor's creative debt financing, all that stuff was why MSTR ended up going up 30x, even though Bitcoin was up like 15x. So that is kind of the thesis behind BM&R. And it all comes down to, do you believe Ethereum is legit as a new financial ecosystem around tokenization and stablecoins? And if you think that's true, then this is where the leverage makes sense. MP, that's ripping as well. So along with USAR, rare earth minerals, I think this is probably because of the TMQ deal, right? So two things. Number one, TMQ, by the way, down from $8 or from $7.98 to $6.08. The TMQ deal unlocks more of an incentive for companies to realize that the government is going to be really supportive of rare earth minerals. But number two, the pulling back of the Alaska regulation that Biden had for 4 years could be bullish for USAR and MP as well, not only for TMQ. So that regulation coming back probably for the entire sector is very bullish, and looks like that's why they're getting some love. SoFi, are we headed to 29? SoFi 28.45. All right, folks. Robinhood goes green as well. 145 on hoodie. Maybe we are going to see SoFi get right back to 30. Maybe we are going to see SoFi get right back to 30. The bear case on BMNR is that two things. They lose their MNAV, aka they fall below what they're trading for in terms of NAV. By the way, Michael Dell is going to be on with Jensen as well at 4 p.m. So Michael Dell and Jensen will be on. Or ETH, flutters out. So either BitMine loses their MNAV because people don't want to pay a premium, because they're not acquiring ETH fast enough to increase your ETH per share, which is why people pay a premium in the first place, or Ethereum just does not continue to appreciate because there's not enough use cases for it. Those are your two major bear cases for BitMine. RR, Rich Tech Robotics, that stock is up another 7%, $7. Up another 7% at $7. Yeah, app did bounce very nicely. So if you bought the dip yesterday, 626, not too bad, 6.7%. Grab still flirting with 650 right there at 645. Nvidia 188, and then Palantir. Palantir going for all-time highs, 185. I mean, you got $5, but at least it's back into those mid 180s. Again, this thing fell to 170 off a Reuters article last week that really didn't make sense. And now it's getting some love. Archer right there. Is that one still down? Archer is 1320. Yeah. Still down 3.4%. Let me check resistance on SoFi for 29, 28.39. Let's see how much they would have to move. By the way, Rocket Lab just falling below 60. SoFi for 29, you would need 43,000 shares. 43,000 shares to get up there. Yeah, the energy names like Energy Fuels, that's up 11%. It's so funny, dude. All the energy names, when they pump, like the biggest energy companies in the world, like a Chevron or an Exxon, do nothing. But like all these smaller energy companies that are out there, Energy Fuels, $4.4 billion company. It's green. UEC, Uranium Energy, 4%. That is also green. It's pretty incredible. Data Vault, this is up 49%. This is a $579 million company. Never heard of them. Data Vault engages in AI-driven data experiences and valuation and monetization of assets in the Web 3.0 environment based on its cloud-based platform. Okay, what's the headline to get this thing up 50%? Data Vault, has anyone heard of this thing? Whenever I hear Web3, I get triggered because that was like peak bubble in 2021. I don't see any headline on Data Vault. Oh, hold on. Nope. Hold on. Did they become a treasury? I think they became a treasury. Dude, okay, listen to this. Data Vault secured a $150 million strategic investment held in Bitcoin to fund its Quantum Web 3.0 initiative. Quantum Web 3.0. Okay, see, if that's enough to pump this 50%, they just took two things and they just stuck them together and like, well, Quantum, Web 3.0, and Bitcoin. Their $150 million investment is in Bitcoin. It's not even in cash. Their $150 million strategic investment is in Bitcoin. They got it September 25th, so it's probably a little bit more than $150 million now because Bitcoin went up, but well, there you go. Shout out to the person who wrote that press release, bro. They got this stock up 50% today. Skrelly's Dream. Yeah, someone needs to tell Skrelly about this name. Let him do some due diligence on Quantum Web 3.0. Well, look, it's up 50%. So volume right here, 73 million volume in freaking 30 minutes. My goodness. But that is green. It looks like it's becoming a treasury. The new CEO said AI in the earnings call. Is that if it's that easy to become a treasury, why don't we start one ourselves? I mean, look, you got a point. NVIDIA, by the way, 189. It is becoming so easy to become a treasury company. And, it's just like saying AI in your earnings call, right? You could just say, oh, no, we started a treasury. But the problem with starting a treasury, and Tom Lee was talking about this yesterday, is just because you start a treasury doesn't mean the market's going to care. Like, they'll care for a day, but then you've actually got to execute as a treasury. App 11 right there, up 7%. And it's not easy to do that, right? Because the treasury space is getting more and more competitive. And for you to get a premium, that's why Semler Scientific had to be acquired by Strive, because they weren't the best treasury for Bitcoin. And they needed to combine forces with a company that could actually monetize and build out the treasury strategy. Dell right there is up 3%. So it looks like more and more and more of these treasury companies are becoming real. At this point, you just need Quantum plus Sydney Sweeney combo for 1,000% return. That is fact. Where's Crocs? Ever since she signed on with those guys, Crocs is kind of flat since then. I think it was at maybe 72. Yeah, it hasn't really helped their stock yet. Now, she partnered with Dude Perfect, which is a subsidiary brand of Crocs, not really Crocs itself. So I don't think it gave that much exposure to Crocs. But American Eagle was the main one that benefited from Sydney Sweeney. SPRB is going crazy. Spruce. Oh, this is a name Skrelly talked about yesterday. It was like a $75 million market cap. Now it's like $2 billion. He tweeted about this. I know nothing about this. He thinks it's going to 500. Again, if you buy it, you gotta be at your own risk. I really stay away from biotech because I don't know anything about it. But that stock up another 72% today. And I kind of think it's because of Skrelly. I mean, why else would people care that much about it? So I feel like this could be one of the reasons why it's getting some love. Oh, hey, dude, not Dude Perfect. Why did I say Dude Perfect? Is Dude Perfect a brand? Oh, no, it is. Oh, it's a YouTube channel. Oh, shit. Oh, I guess I got that wrong. Oh, hey, dude. Oh, that's a totally different. Okay. Yeah, this is Hey Dude. Okay, my bad. Hey Dude is what they partner with. Dude, yeah, you're right. Dude Perfect is fake trick shots. Yeah, that's what they do. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so there you go. They partnered with Hey Dude. PayPal trying to break 75.40. Is this the moment we can get out of the 70s purgatory? Kind of make a run for 76. Let me check PayPal's resistance. See how that one's doing. Yeah, TSSI again up because of Dell. 76 resistance is 18,000 shares. 18,000 shares. BMNR, are we red? We are red. 62.83. Okay, so that one could not make it above that 65 level. S&P, this one's about to go red. Basically flat. Tesla still red. NVIDIA nicely holding on. Nicely holding on to a 2% move on the day. It's a rare disease drug, so upside is big for SPRB. Yeah, I mean, that's also why Skrelly likes it. He's been really good on a couple of shorts this year in the biotech space. And so this one might be his best long if it ends up working out in biotech. But that one is green on the day. Okay, I think we have some jobs data. It's not from the government because the government is shut down, but let me pull this up right here. We have a little bit of data that's unofficial, but it might give us some level of analysis on what's going on right here. So let's pull this up.
The shutdown. So Carlyle put out a real-time indicator today. They looked across all their businesses. Remember, they own a lot of businesses in private equity. They have, I think, more than 700,000 people working for them. So here's what they're estimating. 17,000 jobs added in the month of September. And that would be a step down from what we saw in August, which was 22,000, but also sort of jibes with the weaker jobs growth we've seen lately. Remember, June, according to revisions, actually went negative on job growth. So that's what they're estimating. And then the other one that I always point out is the NFIB hiring intentions. This is from the Small Business Report, Small Business Sentiment. They poll small businesses about what their plans are to hire. It's a leading indicator. And actually, Pantheon Macro says it's one of the best indicators with a 4-month lag. So in other words, we saw the downturn a couple months ago. We're starting to see the weak data. Pantheon notes the uptick recently in small business hiring intentions and is higher than consensus on September jobs, actually says we could see 70,000. So just a few sort of things out there. People are looking at the Indeed job openings data. People are looking at ADP, which did come out, showed weakness, job losses for the month, and trying to figure out where the trend is right now. Doesn't look like stocks seem to mind, though.
No.
Maybe out of sight, out of mind.
No, where the market is accentuating something entirely different than the consumer or macro or employment. It's all about this industrial revolution. Even Daly today didn't seem that in her comments to Axios, doesn't think it's much of a financial bubble because the companies are so strong, and thinks that whatever disruption comes, society as a whole is going to benefit from the change in technology.
Look, and the reason I think the market's ignoring a lot of the fears about the jobs data, NVIDIA is still pushing 189 right here, is because, again, if AI is as transformation as we think it is going to be, it's going to be deflationary. It's definitely going to potentially hurt the job market, but it also might add to the job market. We don't really know what the implications of it is going to be, but the market is betting on the AI tailwind over idiosyncratic macro data that might become much more than idiosyncratic. I mean, it might become like really important data that ends up causing a recession if the labor market continues to weaken. But right now, the market's like, we just don't think that's going to have the type of impact that people think it's going to have. And as a result, I think that's why we've been able to see the market continue to hold on. I mean, this is what Sam Altman said yesterday: 4 million developers in 2025, 800 million weekly users for ChatGPT. That was 700 million last month. They got 100 million users per week within a month, and then 6 billion tokens per minute. ChatGPT is on a 3.15 quadrillion run rate for tokens. I didn't even know there was a word called quadrillion. But that's the level of usage. And this is just ChatGPT. This is not XAI. This is not Gemini. This is not Anthropic. This is not all the other LLMs that are affecting our lives and being used the way that they're being used. So, I mean, it's pretty incredible to me. SoFi, by the way, really trying to go for 29. It's about 20 cents away. 28.72 up almost 9% of the day. But I don't think that trend is slowing down. And if that trend is not slowing down, I don't think the market's going to care about the jobs report. They're going to care about AI. Seems like that's ultimately what they're going to care about. All right, folks, 43,000 shares for 29 on SoFi. 43,000 shares. So Sachin's in the chat. Sachin, can you buy up some 43,000 shares for us? Get that out of the way. And then maybe we can make that move back up into the 30s. Dude, SoFi, again, SoFi, in my opinion, deserves to be in the 30s and probably deserves to be above the 30s, given the next quarter is likely going to be really good growth, upwards of 40%. So would not surprise me going into a rate cut if this one blasts off into the 30s. But it has been a nice dip, right? I mean, all the way back down to 25.70. Like, if you're a super, super bull, I mean, you buy that dip. It kind of reminds me of Hood when it went back to 97. And like, if you were a Hood bull, you bought that dip and you didn't care. You bought it and you slept like a baby. You really did not stress. And I think hopefully the same thing was for a lot of people that are bullish SoFi. Grab, making a move above 650 again. All right, so it's been toying with 648 to 652 all day. We're going to have to really get some volume in here to break above 660, but back above the 650s. AMD 214, that's up 5%. Palantir moving above 185. We did hit 186 at one point today, just below that level right now. And then Google still down below 250. Figma is up because ChatGPT also unveiled chatting with apps. We talked about this yesterday, but Spotify, Figma, Zillow, what are some other companies they partnered with? Expedia, Booking.com. They launched the ability to partner and chat with all these apps, which, look, I think is bullish because I think at the end of the day, these consumer applications get a benefit from accessing the distribution of a ChatGPT and potentially increase their businesses as well by doing this. But Coursera, yeah. So this should be like the next evolution of how people engage with user-generated content to an extent as well from these products. Like Zillow is a user-generated content platform, right? Users generate the content for the homes that they want to buy and sell by listing them. So being able to access that content via an AI platform I think this will be, Zillow will want to go to Gemini and XAI. I don't think they're going to be exclusive to ChatGPT, but this should help a lot of companies, I think, and make the LLMs much more engaging. And if that's the case, that could also be a way that they potentially monetize long-term as well. SoFi right there, 2865, and then NVIDIA just below that 189 level. I love how they ignored Adobe. Well, the problem with Adobe is that, like, Canva is what, okay, I don't know if Canva has more. No, I think Canva does that. Canva has 220. Canva monthly active use. There's 240 million. Okay. Does Adobe disclose monthly active users? Okay, Adobe has 700 million. So obviously Adobe has more, but Canva seems like the platform that more, I guess, amateurs like myself use. And ironically, those are the people that are going to be more inclined to utilize something via AI versus like hardcore users that have been using the Adobe product for decades. I just feel like Canva's more friendly to the average dummy that doesn't understand photo and video editing like myself. And, an AI native suite of tools would be easier. Like, even, dude, for Adobe, you got to download, like, Canva's just a website. Adobe, you got to download it onto your onto your computer, and it's multiple gigabytes, and you got to go through the process of signing up and all this. Canva's just like a regular website, and you get to edit photos. I feel like it's just a lot more user friendly right here for regular folks. But enterprises, yeah, they use Adobe a lot more. That is fair. SoFi 2874 at BMNR. Are we losing 60? 62. So we're not losing 60 yet, but we are down from 65. Afro says, I hate Adobe's interface. I used it a couple years ago and I couldn't stand it, bro. It's like, I felt like I just felt like I needed to like go to 5 classes to learn about how to like press a certain button to do a certain thing. I'm like, dude, it was not intuitive. And it's not meant to be intuitive because it's meant for like the heavy photo editors, video editors that are like super serious about it. But the majority of the world, they just want to edit a photo real quick, right? I just don't feel like Adobe is a suited product suite for those types of users. But you do have Canva getting an integration with ChatGPT. Canva also has modern billing practices. Yeah, it's also what, $13 a month, $14 a month. Like, it's not the most expensive compared to Adobe, which I also think is not too bad. Diggers, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thank you for all you do, Amit. Any thoughts on BTBT? They own 71% of White Fiber and AI data center infrastructure pay. So we've looked at this one before. It's an ETH treasury that owns, as you said, 71% of White Fiber. I've not looked into White Fiber as much to understand if them owning 71% of this is super bullish. From a ETH treasury perspective, again, I don't want to hate on the other ETH treasuries. It's just like, I've made my bet and I'm betting with Tom Lee, so it's like, I'm just not that interested in the other ones. Like, unless they can give me a reason why they're super exciting compared to Tom. I mean, none of the other ETH treasuries have an advocate like a Tom Lee that can go out there into the world and brand his company the way that he has, which ultimately results in raising capital at the level that he raises it at. So, ETHZilla, they're having their special meeting today, as was disclosed on their 8K. Some people are assuming that Bitmine's going to buy them. Maybe that happens today. Maybe it doesn't. But at the end of the day, I don't see a reason to buy ETHZilla or BTBT over BMNR. But I don't think, those are horrible companies. I would want to be compelled with something more than just ETH treasury, because if you already have an ETH treasury, why diversify into the other ones? But you do have BTBT and all the other ETH treasuries going a little red on the day. Once you get shortcuts set up on Adobe, it's a breeze. Yeah, I mean, look, the power users, Carlos has been using Adobe for years because he's like a professional editor. But for him, it makes sense. Or for me, it's just like, I just want to finish what I have to do super quickly and move on. Like, I use Canva for my thumbnails, and it's just like, it's the easiest thing in the world. And I feel like for Adobe, it would take so long just to try to figure out how those thumbnails would even operate. SoFi right there, 2850. It's not breaking 29, folks. 2884. It got there, but it's not breaking through yet. NEE, this is a Nextera. Wow, 52-week highs. Okay, how much is this up year to date? NEE, BMNR under 62. This is up 18% year to date, so this one's done well. Christian said I sold a $60 BMNR put for 1017. Look, again, I say this every week. I will say it again. You cannot get too high in exuberance when Bitmine goes up, and you cannot get too fearful when it goes down. The function of this company is to be volatile, and you just have to be okay with it. That's why when I see price targets calling for freaking $500 end of year, I just don't think that's real, because you have to assume a massive volatile move to the upside. And there's going to be volatile moves to the downside, which ends up evening out. So like there's some days where it'll be red, yeah, like it was yesterday. And there's other days where it'll give up a lot of those gains. And like, that's okay, because long-term, if ETH goes higher, then that's what matters. But nonetheless, you got ETH right there going down a little bit on the day, which is why Bitmine's taking a hit, 4,700 to 4,600. Grab breaking through 655. All right. This is when it should hopefully try to make a run for the 660s. Went all the way down to 642 today. Maybe that was the bottom. We'll see if that can play out, but trying to break 660. Rocket Lab just below 60. CoreWeave 137, still up 15% from that Meta deal they got last week. Verizon, that's up a little bit. Dell, that's up 2%. GameStop's up a little bit. And then Intel is up 3%. For those asking when is the Tesla event, I have no idea, because Tesla did not even tell us if they're having an event today. So I think it's going to happen randomly, or it's going to happen late at night, but we have no update on what's happening with Tesla. Amit, if Hood tokenizes open homes, would you join the open army? So I think people are misconstruing a little bit what happened yesterday. So when Vlad responded to the Opendoor CEO, the Opendoor CEO was like, hey, I want our shareholders to be able to ask us questions in a really interesting way so that they can engage with us. And Vlad responded, hey, I can help you with this. Now, the reason Vlad said that is because they own a company called Say Technologies that literally creates the technology necessary for shareholders to talk with public companies. And they acquired that company for $140 million back in 2021. I think people misinterpreted this to say, oh, Vlad is now talking about tokenizing real estate with Opendoor. I mean, and I'm impressed by the Opendoor Army's imagination, but they went really far with this comment without recognizing that Robinhood has a literal business that helps every single public company communicate, do polls, Q&A, et cetera, with their shareholders. Could they tokenize with Opendoor? I think it's possible. I think the problem is Robinhood would want a really good, trusted partner to tokenize real estate. And I think that's the BlackRocks of the world. I think that's the Blackstones of the world. I don't think that's Opendoor that can't even make a profit on their homes. And that's not shade at Opendoor. That's just like, if you were Robinhood, would you want to partner with a company that can't make a profit on the homes that they're selling, and you don't even know if their financial situation is going to be strong enough to make sure that the tokenization actually works out, right? You want a really trusted partner when it comes to this. So could it happen? Yes. I mean, like maybe there's a world in which that takes place, but I also don't know how Opendoor benefits from that. Why would Opendoor benefit off tokenizing real estate? I mean, that's not their business model. Their business model is flipping homes. So are they going to get into the business of being a fintech that flips homes on a blockchain through a tokenized ledger, which Robinhood, it makes a lot of sense for them to get into it. It makes a lot of sense for Kraken or Coinbase to get into that. But Opendoor is not a fintech or a brokerage. Opendoor is a buyer and reseller of homes. In fact, the goal of Kaz, the new CEO, his explicit goal is, I want home ownership to become a dream for everybody. I mean, owning shares of a random home on a blockchain is not necessarily home ownership. So I don't know if that synergy makes sense. I'm not saying it's impossible. I thought about it last night and I was like, maybe there's a chance. I mean, even Arnie and I were talking about like, could this happen? Like maybe, but it seems like they'd rather want to work with like a Blackstone or a BlackRock to really make it happen. But who knows? If that does happen, I think that's super bullish for Opendoor. I just don't know exactly what the business model will look like if that ends up playing out. QBTS, are we moving on that? Quantum, wow, 37.28, 37.58 was the high of the day. It's up 7%. Does anyone have a catalyst for why Quantum's moving? I mean, we knew Rigetti a couple weeks ago put out a new update. I don't know if QBTS put out any update. Oh, they got a price target upgrade? Oh, yeah. B. Riley, price target upgrade to 33. It looks like that's the catalyst right there. That was like 2 days ago, right? Okay, so there you go. Price target upgrades across the board. On some IONQ got a couple upgrades as well. 81.47. That one is also green. SMCI, is that still up 3%? SMCI 2.3. On the day, Palantir 185, Robinhood 145, Grab still 654, Intel still up 3. What about TMQ, the new Trump company that's still up 220% on the day? Amit, did you get BM&R long calls? No, I didn't end up buying any spreads on BM&R. I mean, I was going to last week, but then this thing just ran, and so kind of want to wait for a dip to buy some like long call options on it. But I have no calls, just shares on BM&R right now. Meta got an upgrade as well. Dude, did we just sell these 5 shares of Meta? Did we just take some? How much are we up? Or is Meta gonna go back down below? I think we're up $40. Dude, we're up $70. $70 is $70, bro. I think we might have to take some profits on these $70. See, we're not like I'm not convicted enough to make Meta a big position. So it's like same thing with AppLovin. That's why I sold it this morning. Like I'm not gonna actually make AppLovin a huge position. So when it was up $1,000, I was like, all right, I'm taking some profits. Like it is what it is. I will give myself credit on that. I am very good at taking profits when I don't have conviction in something, and I don't plan to have conviction in something, and I have zero regret about it. Because at the end of the day, if it's not a actual position in the portfolio, like a meaningful size position that I want to hold on to for a very long time, then I'm done. I move on. And I really don't care that much about it. I don't have any regret. And I actually like the philosophy because if you're not going to make something a big part of the portfolio, why keep it? Now, scalping it, day trading it, swing trading it, that's fine. But if you're not actually going to DCA into something and make it a long-term position, which means you need to have real conviction, like then what's the point of it's just a nuisance in your portfolio. It's money that could be allocated somewhere else. So now Amazon, I actually legit might want to make into a position. That's why I'm not selling Amazon. Also, we bought at 222, so there's no profits here. But Amazon, the thesis is outside of like the general thesis on Amazon. It's the only Max 7 that hasn't moved this year. So you would think end of year S&P 7,000, Amazon participates. But I can imagine holding Amazon for some time. PayPal, did we break 76? PayPal, 75.39, didn't break 76 yet. And then IBM. IBM is over 300. Wow, the Anthropic partnership really got them 300. Year to date, how is IBM doing? IBM, year to date. Dude, IBM's up almost 40%. Is anyone in IBM? I don't think we paid attention to it this much this year. Over the past year, it's up 32%. Past 5 years, it's up 145. This one was dead for about 7-8 years, more like 10 years since 2010, but making a move year to date now, up 40%. Amit, what do you think Tesla will release? I really do think it's going to be an affordable car. I think so. Which, unfortunately, I don't know if it's going to be affordable at $40K, but yeah, I think it's going to be a car, and hopefully it's affordable enough to get some people excited, but we just have no data on how exactly it's going to come out or when it's ultimately going to come out. Do we have any other macro data coming out today? It's 10:30. Gold and silver record highs. Used car prices are down in the U.S. used car price index, 0.2% month over month. It's a third consecutive decline, which is good. So you're seeing a little bit of deflation there. Canada's trade deficit is up from 5.6 billion to 6.3 billion. So that one increased. And then unfortunately, there's not a lot of US data because the government is shut down. So we might just not see some of that data. Sachin says, bro, the rule in growth tech investing is that we don't talk about IBM. We don't care it exists. We neglect everything about this company. That is hilarious. I mean, look, IBM has been one of those names that's not really been a growth stock, but AI has been a new renaissance for the company. It's literally changed the entire narrative over the past couple of years. Rocket Lab back to 60. Okay, there you go, 60.04. That's up 2.6. And do you expect one or more than the one affordable models? I don't know, dude. I think realistically they should come out with a car for Model Y. It's a crappier version of the regular Model Y, but put it at $30,000. I think that would get the stock to really be excited simply because a lot of people would probably buy that car. If they try to do it at 40 grand and what, like all the prices I'm seeing are 39,990. Like that's just disrespectful. Just like you want a 3 so badly in front of it, you're gonna take off $10 from 40,000. Like that's just, they gotta get the car actually down to an affordable level. And introducing multiple models that aren't affordable is not really gonna get people excited. So I would really want to see an actual way for them to break down getting that part of the country now that the $7,500 tax credit is down. And unfortunately, that could be the issue with Q4. So Street's going to have to see what they think about that. 447 right there on Tesla. Pentagon's Hegseth okays U.S. Navy next generation fighter. Sources say after months of delay, the Pentagon will set up as soon as this week the defense company to design and build. Okay, so that's good for your defense contractors, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and Northrop. All of those slightly up a little bit on the day. A bunch of the drone companies also still getting momentum since Hegseth got excited about the drone company Soundhound. That one also 1833. That one is green. Let's take a look at this right here. So again, this is the New York Stock Exchange owner of the Intercontinental Exchange taking a $2 billion stake in Polymarket. Here's what the CEO of that stock exchange had to say about why they're investing in Polymarket.
He's a great guy. He's building something revolutionary, and I think he could use your help because a few years earlier, I was falsely accused of something and was raided by the FBI. And I thought about it and I said, you know, I don't really know this guy. I don't really want to get involved. But that weighed on me. And ultimately, when Shane was exonerated, I picked up the phone and said, I have something in common with you, and I'd love to sit down and talk about whether or not we could compare notes. And much as your introduction said, I mean, just look at us, right? I'm old and bald. He's young and mop-headed. I have a closet full of ties. I don't think he owns a tie. You know, the company that we're sitting in was started in 1792. He's got the hottest financial services company in 2025. And so we started to talk about the white space of opportunity that existed between our firms and this common experience that we both had, and it brought us together.
Shane, were you looking for a partnership? And also, how do you think about, I mean, you're the young hot kid on the street right now. How do you feel about partnering with the old guy?
Look, I'm just humbled to be here. It's when Jeff and I started talking about collaborations, despite maybe being from different eras, there was just a lot of cohesion. We were on the same page about all different types of things that we could build. I think what's exciting here is a lot of older juggernaut companies, they make announcements about different types of things they're going to do with cutting edge technology. But with what we're doing, there's going to be real bite. We're going to be able to actually build and ship some great stuff. Jeff, you know, ICE is the largest exchange company. They have so many assets in traditional finance, so much infrastructure. And I can't believe I'm being called. And his willingness to go and say, hey, let's go and leverage this infrastructure.
Did this kid just pick up his phone during the middle of an interview? What?
I can't believe I'm being called. And his willingness to go and say, hey, let's go and leverage this infrastructure to go and innovate and disrupt the existing legacy systems and go and try and figure out the new brave new world. You know, you just can't pass that up. You've got one.
It is so ironic because it's like you would expect a kid to pick up their phone in the middle of a live national interview because, you know, to them, it's just like, oh, I'm getting a phone call. I need to, you know, turn this off before while I'm on TV. Like it's kind of full circle in terms of what the guy was saying before that. But look, I think the Polymarket investment, $2 billion into them is actually a big deal. It's going to be a major milestone in establishing the overall prediction market space to be a lot more relevant. So it doesn't look like that's slowing down. Don't lie, you would do the same thing. Dude, what was the interview where I almost checked? Oh, no, when I was at AIPCon, 2 AIPCons ago, my phone was in my pocket. And one of the guests was talking because I was hosting it. I wasn't doing all the talking. I was just like introducing the guests. And so like, you know, after I introduced the guest would be talking. I zoned out when one of the guests was talking. And I also couldn't hear them that well because it was super loud. But like you guys could hear them because they had mics, but I couldn't really hear what they were saying. And for a second, I put my hand on my pocket while we're live in front of however many thousands of people are watching AIPCon. And I legit almost reached for my phone to check. And it just like hit me. I'm like, dude, I'm live. I can't just take out my phone like in front of all these people. But I was getting, I was zoning out. And I really had to check myself. I was like, could you imagine if I picked up my phone and like checked Twitter or something? It would have been ridiculous. So yes, I mean, I have sympathy for him, but it looked like he was trying to hang up on a phone call. And it's like, dude, you got to be on Do Not Disturb sometimes, right? That's why Do Not Disturb. That's why it's there, so that you don't get messages or notifications during important moments. But I legit almost checked my phone, which would have been ridiculous. SoFi, 28.35, 7.5%, still trying to get above there, but not breaking through 29. Just start hammering out Twitter posts. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, dude. Plug Power, that one's still moving from yesterday. That's, well, it's down today, but it's still up a lot over the past week. Bitcoin 122. Okay, that's going to hurt Hoodie. Below 123. I don't know. Do you guys think Bitcoin, like, what do we think by end of year? Tom Lee has 200. Does anyone really think 200? I mean, like, I feel like it's 150, and I feel like I'm even being super optimistic at 150. But if it goes to 200, I mean, it would be quite incredible. Quite incredible. Neil, thanks for the super chat. As a creative director, I absolutely hate everything about the Adobe suite. So happy Figma's taking over. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that critique by a lot of different people that are using Adobe hardcore. So it makes sense. Freddie, thank you for becoming a channel member. Matt, thanks for the $20. Anyone can tokenize real estate investments or investments into a private company. If you mint a token, do a pre-sale, you can create enough value to become a credit investor. A token then backed by real assets. That is true. It's just making an exchange for average people to trade it, people that don't want to actually go through the process of minting it themselves, right? Which is what the masses, including myself, will want to engage in. That's where I think the opportunity is for Robinhood and Kraken and Coinbase and all those guys. So I think it makes sense for them to get there. Ori says, big call flow hitting Palantir. Momentum looks strong towards 190. I will take a look at some of the options flow, but the price action today is looking like there is momentum towards all-time highs on Palantir. Here is the top 20 stocks that have been traded in the options market so far within the first hour of the market open. AMD is number one, folks. AMD is number one. A lot of you guys are saying 150 to 170 for Bitcoin. Yeah, I would agree. I think 150-ish is more where I'm at. 200 would be pretty incredible, though. AMD, Tesla, Palantir, PayPal, iBit, SoFi, NVIDIA, BMNR, Plug, Open, Snap, Iren, Archer, Bull, Nokia. Nokia's up there. Poet, Rigetti, Amazon, SMCI, and Hoodie. Is there news on Nokia? Nokia is up 1% on the day. What is the news for Nokia that's causing this run? Someone just bought 42,000 Nokia $5 call contracts expiring this week. Yeah, I'm looking at the options flow. What's the headline, though? I don't see the headline. Don't tell me I'm saying it wrong, bro. Do not tell me I'm saying this shit wrong. It's Nokia. There's no way I'm saying this wrong. There's, dude, if I am saying that I've known this brand forever, it's the freaking phone brand. There's no way I'm saying it wrong. Okay, hold on. We're going to find out. There's no freaking way, dude.
Consumer electronics company making phones for short. Now in Finnish, in Finland, this is said as Nokia. Nokia. Pretty straightforward once you know there doesn't seem to be.
Okay, so this dude says Nokia. I feel like I'm saying it relatively the same, right? I mean, I'm saying Nokia. He's saying Nokia. He's saying it, yeah, Nokia. I'm saying Nokia. Dude, it doesn't sound that off, bro. It doesn't sound that off. It genuinely doesn't sound that off. It's not that great. What do you mean not even close? What are you guys talking about, bro? Dude, we need Google to help. How to say Nokia. I need a better. Oh, I found a guy.
Welcome.
Okay, let's see this guy.
To how to pronounce. In today's video, we'll be focusing on a new word,
Nokia,
which means
Finnish multinational corporation known for telecommunications and technology.
Let's say it all together.
Nokia. Nokia.
Okay, so maybe I'm spending a little bit more time on the IA part of how I say it, but that's not that crazy, bro. That's not that crazy. You guys are bugging on that one. You guys are bugging on that one. It's not that different, bro. There's no pause between no and Kia. Nokia. Nokia. Oh, I see what you're... No. Oh, okay. I'm saying Nokia, and it's Nokia. Ah. Okay. I get it. I still like Nokia better than Nokia. Like Nokia seems like you're actually, that we're spending too much time on this, but the point is, maybe I'm saying it wrong, but it's not wrong enough to the point where I deserve to be criticized for that, bro. You're saying 2 words, everyone else is saying 1 word. Yes, that is fair. Whatever, dude. Freaking Nokia, whatever. Stupid ass fucking dumbass. All right. Whatever, dude. Can't believe I said that shit wrong, bro. Why is it up today? Why are people buying calls on this? That's the better question. Who bought 42,000 calls on this shit, bro? For $5 today? There's no fundamental. I don't see any reason for why. Didn't Microsoft buy these guys a long time ago as well? Microsoft, Nokia. Didn't they? Yeah, they bought them in 2013. I guess this is, I don't know if this got spun out since then. The flip phone is coming back. Yeah, maybe. Dude, the flip phone was legit. My sister had a Motorola Razr. You guys remember that? Those phones were like incredible back then. But it would be cool to see if they come back. Dude, it sounds like Nokia. It really does. Didn't Drake make a song called Nokia? Maybe he said it like that, and that's why I'm thinking of it in this way. Because he also had a full song about this shit. But Razr was state of the art. Yes, Razr was state of the art. It was legit. The Motorola Razr was one of the best phones ever. Dude, this thing was legit, bro. This freaking thing, iconic. Absolutely iconic. Stop blaming someone else. It's true, though. He literally had a song called Nokia. Or Nokia, or whatever. But maybe that's where I picked it up. NVIDIA right there, 187.85. Grab still below 650. And then SoFi below 7%. Doug said a phone that folded. Yeah, but look, phones that folded back then are different from touchscreen phones that fold today, which I think are really not as useful as people think they are. Like we didn't have a smartphone, right? So it was just like, it was cool when you flip this up and down. The foldable phones today with like 2 screens, I don't know. I don't see the vision behind it. But maybe Apple ends up turning it into something relevant long-term. Okay, some AI analysis. Let's get to this. A little bit more of an update from OpenAI and their deals yesterday. And then we'll keep going from there.
Month and then the massive NVIDIA investment back in September. Our next guest leads the largest tech buyout firm with $181 billion in assets under management. Thoma Bravo, founder, managing partner, Orlando Bravo, joins us now. Welcome. It's good to have you.
Sarah, it's great to be here. Hi, Carl. Thanks for having me.
So all of these deals, particularly around OpenAI, are they distorting the private market?
I don't think so. I mean, isn't it an astonishing amount of money?
It's mind-blowing.
And how quickly it is moving. Now, for enterprise software, which is the area that we focus on, that $1.5 trillion economy, this is a huge tailwind. All these investments is becoming clearer and clearer to the market, to customers, and to investors that this is a big tailwind for those companies. So it's a big beneficiary of these enormous investments.
So you've been through cycles. Been through the last .com cycle. People are drawing parallels to that just because the size of the numbers and the deals and now the high valuations. Do you see any comparison?
Thank you for mentioning the .com bubble burst. We, investing-wise and operating-wise, we're a product of that environment. That's when we learned to buy a software company cheap, when we learned to cut costs, when we learned how to operate. And it was wild. I was young in San Francisco in those days, and all the bars closed down and all the restaurants closed down all of a sudden. I can tell you there is a parallel, which is valuations. Valuations in AI are at a bubble. You cannot.
Public or private?
Both. You cannot value a $50 million ARR company at $10 billion. Think about how public investors and great investors think about companies. That company is going to have to produce $1 billion in free cash flow to double an investor's money ultimately. Even if the product is right, even if the market's right, that's a tall order managerially. Now, there's a big difference between the dot-com bubble burst and what's going on now. Now you have some really big companies and some big balance sheets and healthy balance sheets financing this activity, which was different than what happened roughly 25 years ago.
So what do you do with all that? What are you doing?
We focus on what we do. Look, the opportunity in private equity, and for us specifically, to transform $1 billion software company, it's bigger than it's ever been. And then the tailwinds that those companies have with AI, think about it. You're selling your customer an important solution, a workflow solution, a system.
Okay, this guy is a private equity guy, which is why he's saying that public market valuations are a bit more bubblish. I mean, dude, there's a lot of these private equity guys that are trying to get the private equity world to get a bit more liquid. And ironically, the private equity world, when you talk about bubbly and, you know, the idea of companies that are rooted in AI but have extreme valuations, I think they're more in private equity than in the public markets. I really do. And again, a lot of the, you know, Trump opening up the 401ks to have access to private equity, the private equity firms love it because now they have liquidity. But the question is, do you want to have an overvalued, quote unquote, NVIDIA, which I don't think NVIDIA is overvalued, but let's just use them as a metaphor. Would you rather have an overvalued NVIDIA in your 401k or some random private equity AI company that you think you're exclusively getting access to, therefore you feel super special? I mean, a lot of people invest in private companies just because they want to feel special that they got into a private deal. And in reality, most private deals are shitty, VC and private equity. So you got to really know what you're getting into when you get into a private deal. And just because you're in some exclusive deal doesn't mean it's like a good deal. But you got a lot of people that have perspectives on the public market around its overvaluation when there's actual earnings growth in the public market compared to private equity, where there's not that much. Or if there is, it's not as good as the public markets. By the way, AppLovin, take a look at that. 9% on the day. Not too bad. This thing got to 641 right here at 638. So this one's also making a move. Like you and Figure. Yeah, I mean, dude, Figure might end up being a flop. You know, I think it'll do well, but at the end of the day, I don't know. Now, Brett did tease that they're coming out with the third version of their robot. I don't know when, but he said this week. So, you know, hopefully that's going to be good. But, dude, at the end of the day, Figure has no revenue, right? They have no earnings. They just have a lot of, I would say, ambition. And I think personally, they have made a lot of good progress. But the question is, can they hold on to that progress and materialize it into something real? And we're going to have to see if that ends up playing out. Doug says, I can confirm PE deals almost always suck. I got lucky with Aptronic and Anduril and have done well, but I see a lot of crap offers now. Yeah. Was that your phone? Yes, dude. This is why I preach about being on Do Not Disturb. Dude, it's been like 5 times in the past week I've not been on Do Not Disturb. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why. I just leave off Do Not Disturb. And then for some reason, I get phone calls during the stream like every day. Like I need to remind myself to be on D&D. It wasn't Steve. It was some random spam phone call, I think. But the point is, look, private equity, I think, is more bubblicious than the public markets. And I'd rather be in an overvalued AI name in the public markets that I'm paying a little bit more premium for than something in private equity. NVIDIA right there, 187.69. That is also red. He's acting like that kid. Yeah, literally. I pulled a Shane right there. I just pulled a Shane. Falling Knife, thank you for the $200 super chat. Had to get my mitt in during vacation. Hello from Naples, Italy this week. You the man. Dude, awesome. Italy. Still never been there. I've got Arnie there. Arnie's been telling me to come for like the past 3 years to Italy. And so I'm very excited to go there eventually, hopefully in 2026. But yeah, thank you for the super chat, man. And I would love to get to Italy soon. Hopefully next year. Hopefully we'll do a Europe tour. It would be fun. Amit, are you planning to do your deep dives in video format? Some of them. So some of them will get like an hour-long deep dive with a bunch of other people, but the majority of them will be on Substack. It's just like, the ones that people really care about will do a sort of roundtable with and do an entire deep dive. NVIDIA right there, 187, Tesla 446, and then Palantir 185. I don't think we have a ton of news right now. Again, government shutdown means no data. Trump and the Alaska stuff we talked about yesterday. Mike Johnson was live a couple minutes ago talking about the same stuff he's been talking about, blaming the Democrats. So I don't see anything new that we are seeing yet. We don't have an update on Tesla yet either, on when it's going to happen, their event. But something today, as per 10/7, will be announced. Get some fettuccine in Italy. Yes, I will get a Nokia phone and get some fettuccine in Italy. Dude, I really thought it was Nokia. Like, I really did not know it was Nokia. I really thought it was Nokia. Guess I'm wrong. I guess I'm wrong. Steve just texted me. He said he bought more BM&R. So Steve is continuing to load up on this one. BitMine right here, 61.77 down about 2.3. I mean, it had a 12% day yesterday, so not too crazy for it to get a hit. Do you have a YOLO play in mind? I mean, let's ask the chat. What's your YOLO play right now? I guess, how do we define a YOLO play? A YOLO play is like, I'm okay with losing this money because the upside is greater than the like downside of the loss. Or like, if it goes to zero, I'm okay with it. But it's like, I guess 70% chance it goes to zero, 30% chance it like doubles. That's like a YOLO, right? I guess that would be like a way to define it. I don't know. What's a YOLO? I think a YOLO also doesn't have a fundamental thesis either, right? You're just doing it to do it. Staff says, thank you for calling out AppLovin yesterday, up 7,000. Congrats, man. It was a good dip. It was a good dip. Again, the only reason I also thought the dip 640 right here was worth at least looking at was because this is an S&P 500 company that's growing at 70% year over year. So an SEC probe feels more like a Wells notice than anything. It's up 9% on the day. And if you took advantage of it, then made some decent money on this. AK Media is my YOLO play. Oklo, I could see that. Rivian, ASTS. Rivian's at 1362. Navitas, HIMS. Dude, HIMS has been stuck for so long. This thing has just not really moved. 55.88. It's up a little bit on the day. It's still up 100% for the year, though. Next Decade, Bitfarms, DFDV, Solana Treasury, Orbs, BM&R, Nokia, Opendoor, Kraken. Again, that's OTC, so it's a little harder for everyone to access, but I do see more and more people talking about that one. Mitt, do you ever invest in private companies? I just bought stock in Mercury Bank private company. Yes, a few private names I have. Mercury is a really good startup bank. They're like focused on banking for startups. They've been around for a while though, so the valuation on these guys, $3.5 billion. Yeah, I don't know anything about their growth, but $3.5 billion March of 2025. At the end of the day, it is a bank, so you have to ask yourself, are you getting a decent valuation for this name? But they are like the de facto bank in Silicon Valley, and pretty much everyone uses them. Yeah, I don't know if I have a YOLO play. I mean, I would agree with what a lot of people said in the chat. But ultimately, we're going to have to see how some of these plays end up playing out by the end of the year. Salesforce right here, 239. That's still down 2.64%. This one also hasn't been able to make a bit of a move. Let's get another update right here on the shutdown and see if any progress on that.
stalemate we're going to have to see. But Trump saying last night he is open to working with Democrats on some sort of solution on health care. Of course, then he went on Truth Social shortly after and said that he would only be open to that after the Democrats vote with Republicans to reopen the government. And, you know, I was on Capitol Hill last night talking with some Republican senators. They really mirrored that they do want to have these conversations. They want to work with Democrats, but they can't do anything until the government is reopened. You've heard Senator Mark Wayne Mullen talk to me a little bit about some triggers in the process to make sure discussions go forward. And you had Susan Collins, who was apparently walking around with a folder that actually contained a agreement that she's talking about with Republicans and Democrats with, something that would basically say to Democrats, hey, if you give us the votes to reopen the government, we promise to work with you on a solution here to those Affordable Care Act tax credits, which of course are expiring at the end of the year, although Americans are expected to see their premiums rise much sooner than that. We do have another vote that is set to happen today, hasn't been scheduled yet timing wise, but it would be the 6th vote to try to reopen the government, at least until November 21st. Last night, we didn't see any movement. We saw sort of the same folks voting for and against, but we do have Senator Angus King to watch today. Now, he's an independent. He caucuses with the Democrats, though, and he's been one of the 3 to cross the lines and vote with Republicans on opening the government.
All right, so another vote later today. The last 4 to 5 votes did not end up playing out. I don't think this one's going to work out either, but hopefully by the end of the week, maybe there's more progress on getting some of these votes to make sense. Fermi, that was an IPO last week. The stock is up 3%. The IPO'd at 24, got up to 36, down to 27. Again, I'm just not that comfortable getting into this stock. There's no revenue. There's no projections on earnings. It's in the data center energy space, which could be the reason why it's even up from its IPO price, but it's not up as much as it was last week. It took a pretty big haircut since then. But if you're in it, you've got to watch out for more deals in the energy space, particularly around nuclear. And if they get those deals, then, you know, the stock probably re-rates. But that's what I think people will wait out for. By the way, Klarna got an upgrade yesterday. Is this one back to 43.40? This one also not a good IPO. IPO'd at 40. Still at 40.5. I mean, again, people just have not been generous enough to give this one a multiple or to care about getting excited into Klarna. Take a look at this stat right here. I thought this was pretty interesting yesterday. NVIDIA now represents 5% of the MSCI All Country World Index. This index captures 85% of global equity markets, including Japan, China, UK, Canada, France. NVIDIA weighs significantly at about 5.04% inside of the index, surpassing Japan at a 4.78% market share, which would be the Nikkei. China, the UK, and Canada are all at around 3%. So NVIDIA's contribution to the index is now bigger than France and Germany combined. It is pretty incredible when you think about what has happened with this stock. And, you know, if this one gets a 2-handle on it by the end of the year, it will continue to get bigger. It's 8% of the S&P 500. But it doesn't look like NVIDIA is slowing down. It does not. And this AMD deal yesterday just only bolsters the case, in my opinion, for NVIDIA. AMD 214, BMNR 6139, 2.9%. Grab could not break through 655, 644. And then NVIDIA 187.93. Victor says, my technical analysis says that Palantir will make a new all-time high by end of week. That would coincide with some of these option flows that we're seeing today on the 190 call. So it would be cool to get there. Bitcoin taking a beating, 125.2 to 122.7. Nice little $2,700 candle on Bitcoin. And then Ethereum, less of a beating, 47 to 46. That one slowed down. Oh, the Optimus thing yesterday. I forgot to show this. So this was an update from Elon. So at the Disney Tron movie premiere, Optimus was there. And it was dressed up like one of the characters. And it was doing that. It's kind of cool. Kind of cool. So, yeah, I know Tesla and Disney have not had the best relationship, given Elon told the CEO of Disney to, let's just say, GFY, I guess is the best way to say it. But it looks like they kind of embrace the potential of a collaboration right here. And that's actually pretty cool to me. So, I mean, I know people critique Optimus because it's not done anything exciting or useful. But the fact that it can at least start making a presence in mainstream culture hopefully allows it one day to be a lot more useful in the real world. But look, as of now, the robots aren't doing anything important. Eventually, I think they will. But it is cool to see that happen. And, Elon probably wants it to get out there, get more publicity. I mean, remember they did that whole Kim Kardashian photo shoot a year ago? Like, all of those are hopefully just the beginning of Optimus actually making some real use cases. The fact that we have robots would blow my young 5-year-old mind. Yeah, I mean, dude, a lot of people dreamed of robots years and years ago. Like, a lot of people felt like, like flying cars, that dream. I don't know. Do you guys think we have flying cars in the next 30 years? I don't know, bro. Like, I don't know if AI and all the technology revolution is enough to actually get there. Like the Jetsons, the predictions around that. If anyone were to do it, it's going to be Elon. I mean, who else is building a freaking flying car? It's going to be Elon. SoFi back to 28. I don't know if my lifetime, if we get a legit flying car. I think we'll get humanoid robots. I don't know in my lifetime if we get a flying car. Like, how would you even manage the traffic in the air? Like, there's so much logistical concerns around it. But I wonder on if that ends up playing out. Let's do a poll. By the way, what did you guys say on the prices? On the prices, you guys said below 30. Wow, 40% of you think it'll be below 35,000. Dude, if that's the case, I think Tesla pumps. If the new Model Y is below 40,000, I think Tesla pumps. But flying cars, I don't know. I don't think we get them. It's called a helicopter. Okay, well, I mean, things that people can afford and buy. And I guess eVTOLs are the closest we have to flying cars, kind of, to an extent. Could you imagine an accident in the air, though? Like, could you imagine people crashing in the air? Like, which is going to happen if you're, like, it's inevitable, right? Like, it just feels like that's going to be hard to see play out. Yeah, hovercrafts would be the way that maybe it plays out. But we do. We don't have flying cars, but we have self-driving cars. Like, I did FSD yesterday for 40 minutes, and like every time I get out of the car after FSD, I'm like, dude, like, this thing is magic. And FSD 14, hopefully it continues to get even better, but it's legit magic. Legit magic. So pretty cool. Okay, I want to show you guys this right here. Shout out to Raul if he's watching. He made a website called 2025stockdraft.com. And I think it's relatively accurate and it updates immediately. So it doesn't do the whole Google Finance thing where it takes 20 minutes to update. So right now it's saying Matt's at 42.3 and Mitt's at 42.1. If I go to the stock draft, yeah, that's accurate. Matt's at 42.7. I'm at 42.5. But when it updates, it probably will be a little bit lower than that. So if anyone wants to keep track of the leaderboard, 2025stockdraft.com. Yeah, there he is. Shout out to Raul. He DM'd me this last night, and I thought it was pretty cool. So I think Raul, sort by overall return, sort by today's. I think Raul, the next thing is maybe showing all the stocks so people can see the exact percentages up and down on the tickers. I don't know if that's easier to do, but I think that's what people would want to see. But if you just want a live leaderboard of what it looks like, it seems relatively accurate, almost exactly accurate. And this is how you guys can keep up with it. You can click. Oh, shit. Oh, cool. Okay, this one's loading. Let me refresh. Oh, dude, Raul, I think we crashed your website. I think we crashed the website, folks. Yeah, we crashed it, bro. You got to upgrade the servers, bro. You got to upgrade it. That's crazy. Well, there you go. It's not my internet. It's not my internet. Raul, if you need like I don't know, if you need like $100 or something to upgrade the servers or $500, just let me know. I'll definitely send it to you because this would be cool for everyone to just constantly update it. But there. Okay, this is not me saying it. This is just me highlighting a comment, okay? This is not me saying it. This is just me highlighting a comment. Eddie says SoFi can't even crash their website. I'm just saying, okay? I'm just saying. That's we just crashed Raul's website, and SoFi doesn't have enough traffic to crash their servers. That's all. That's Eddie saying that, not me. That's Eddie. I'm not the guy saying that. That's Eddie. That's hilarious, bro. That we were talking about that last night on the show because Tanner was like, "What do you think of Anthony Noto's retweet?" I'm like, "Bro, SoFi doesn't even get enough traffic where they would have the chance to have an outage. So why is Noto taking shots like that?" And I know it's a little friendly jab, but it's like, come on, bro. Like these are so Robin is on a different playing field when it comes to brokerage. But that is hilarious. That is hilarious. Robin right there, 145. SoFi still trying to crack 27.90. A nice 6% move, a close above 27.50. I think is bullish. I think it's heading back to 30. I really do. I do not see the bull market commencing with SoFi below 30, especially with 2 more rate cuts. We might get 3 rate cuts if the jobs data ends up being really bad. Like, I think SoFi probably ends out the year above that $30 level. But yeah, Raul, let me know if you need any help with the servers on this. I didn't know we would crash it that quick. But there you go, 2025stockdraft.com. We'll see if we can get that fixed. And everyone will be able to see it. Wait, when is the LeBron announcement? LeBron announcement is today, right? Is that at 2 p.m.? Dude, if he does a promotion and it's not like a real announcement, oh my goodness. It's a commercial for Hennessy. Oh my goodness, bro. It's a commercial for Hennessy. Okay, I hold on.
One's on pins and needles across the country. You ready to go, LeBron? Where's the powder?
Left it at home.
LeBron, fans want to know where you're taking your talents this year. What's your decision?
In this fall, man, this is tough. In this fall, I'm going to be taking my talents to Hennessy VSOP.
VSOP? And this was the conclusion you woke up with this morning?
That was the conclusion I woke up with this morning.
Why?
I feel like it's going to give me the best opportunity to win more at hosting. And not only that, win.
No music. We can't do music. But, dude, I thought it was like a real retirement announcement. I thought it was a real retirement announcement, bro. Hennessy. I thought it was a retirement announcement, bro. Like, that's what we're waiting for, right? I mean, look, I don't want him to retire because I don't know if the NBA is going to be relevant if LeBron retires. I mean, maybe, but the NBA has got some viewership issues. But I thought he was going to, like, that just means he's not ready to retire. That was successful rage baiting, bro. Successful rage baiting. Dude, because like the reason it's a little annoying is because they said it's the second decision. Everyone who knows in 2010 when he made the first decision, it was monumental, right? So to frame this commercial through the lens of the second decision, I think it's just like, it's cringe, bro. Like he could have done a Hennessy commercial without making it this tailored towards that specific time in his life, right? Which was a really big deal. But there you go. LeBron going with Hennessy. All right, we have some breaking news on the NY Fed and inflation expectations. Let's go to that, and then we'll keep going from there.
Morning, Carl. New York Fed inflation expectations in their consumer expectations survey. The expectations are rising. Unemployment concerns are increasing. Here's the expectations for inflation 1 year out, up 0.2% to 3.4%. That's the highest since April 2025, around the time of the reciprocal tariffs. The 3-year unchanged at 3%. That is the 5th straight month right at that 3% level. The 5-year also at 3%. That's up 0.1%, the highest since May 2024. Inflation expectations increase for food, gas, medical care, and rent. Expectations for growth in food prices was the highest since March of 2023. On to the labor market. Earnings growth down 0.1%, or the expectations for earning growth to 2.4%. That's the 3rd straight decline and the lowest since May of 2021. Expectations for higher unemployment up 2 percentage points to 41.1%. Third increase in a row, highest since April 2025. Job loss, though, that expectation for job loss increased 0.4% to 14.9. Fourth increase in a row, highest since April 2025. One positive thing, expectations for finding a job did go up by 2.5 points, but it's really a rebound from a series low. It remains near the pandemic low of that concern about finding a job if you lose one. Spending growth expectations declined 0.
Okay, so the reason we're getting the red candles is because of these New York Fed expectations. S&P just went red on inflation. As you can see right here, the expectations for inflation are much more elevated, the most since end of 2023. Again, these are just headlines. They're not, and they're just expectations. They're not like fully confirmed actual data of inflation, but Grab goes red, Google goes red, SoFi losing some steam, Robinhood's about to go red, Nvidia losing all of its momentum, S&P goes red, Bitcoin and Ethereum continue to get hit. BMNR probably back to $60.47. Oracle, by the way, we got a headline here, folks. Oracle down 4%. Internal Oracle data shows financial challenge of renting out Nvidia chips. Uh-oh. And then the other headline right here is Oracle lost nearly $100 million from rentals of Blackwell chips in most recent quarter. Two quick thoughts on this. Number one, this doesn't mean that Oracle doesn't have the demand to rent out the GPUs. It means their margins on the GPUs and renting them might not be that good. So that's the first thing. It might be a margin issue versus a demand issue. AKA, they have plenty of demand to rent out the GPUs, but they might not be making a margin from it. The second thing, which would be worse, is that Oracle doesn't have the demand and the GPUs are just stuck inside of their data centers and they don't have anyone to rent it out to. That will be a lot worse. That would be way worse. I don't think that's the case, and we don't have that much of a detail on this. This is a reporting from the information. This is not anything from Oracle. But if they lost nearly $100 million because they weren't able to rent out the chips, which seems unlikely, it seems more so this is a margin compression issue, then that would be a better reason for it to be red versus the first reason. So this with Oracle, along with the NY Fed expectations elevating what they think inflation will be like in a year, it looks like that's creating some ugly red, bro. Some annoying red, to be on. Grab, you know, that one wiped all the way back down to 630. S&P, look at that, below 670. Nvidia, 189 to 185. Palantir was on its way to 187. That one's back to 182. These are algos. They're coming in. If everything drops, everything drops. AMD from 217 to 210. And then Meta still holding on to 710. That one is down about 1% on the day. I would not be surprised to see this flip really quick if these headlines are not that big of a deal. But the consumer inflation expectations from the New York Fed, along with Oracle, likely is why we're getting some red. Now, again, it's down 0.5% after, again, 2 months of a lot of green. So if there is going to be an October dip, I think most of us are ready for it. But we got to see. We got to see if we get there. This is the whole market attack, institutional scare tactics. Yeah, look, the information is one of those websites that they are, let's just say, I think they have very good relationships with a lot of hedge funds. That is my opinion, because they just always timely come out with a piece of news that tends to either push a stock up or push a stock down. And this one is so high. Like, first of all, you got to ask you, how did they find the source for this information? Like, no one in Oracle wants this information to come out, you would imagine. So you probably have people that know other people that know other people in Oracle that are connected to then managing the stock, that either long or short, either they want a good dip or they want the thing to go down so they can profit off their short. Like, all these things are so calculated sometimes. That's what I've learned about the media. Is a lot of it is more calculated than what we think. A lot of it is more calculated. But Oracle is getting a nasty 5% drawdown right there. It was at 230 before the earnings, went all the way up to 350. Now it's back to 276. Market cap went from 900 billion at the peak to now 788 billion. Oracle, 5.5% down on the day. And that's taken down a lot of other people, or a lot of other stocks as well. Well, let's see if we get some dips. Let's see if we get some juicy dips. Let's see how long this lasts as well. We got to see if this one actually is enough to take markets down. By the way, Trump's meeting with Carney soon from Canada. Let's get a little bit of an update on that. But that should be happening, I think, in about an hour.
Annexing Canada since he was last here.
Yeah, that's right, Sarah. Relations between the United States and Canada have been sour all year, though, as tariffs, trade, and that talk of Canada becoming the 51st state have really ramped up tensions between the two countries. So a White House official tells me there's no particular agenda for this meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney today, other than solidifying some of the trade agreements that have been made throughout the course of this year. Also on the table for discussion today, energy, the border and drugs, trade and investment, and the two leaders are expected to have conversations about the global wars, including Gaza and Ukraine. And of course, we might see a wide-ranging question and answer session here where the president could make news on any number of subjects. We're going to keep our eyes on it, Sarah.
Okay. Oracle getting worse, down 6%. NVIDIA officially goes red. S&P down a third. Google down 1.5, and SoFi still holding on to 4%. Robinhood actually goes green. Palantir holding on to its green, but everything else is red. Where's BM&R? Are we losing 60? We have lost 60, 59.99 by 1 cent. So there you go. Yeah, I agree with Jason. This isn't even a dip. I mean, it's a little annoying because we were pretty green this morning, but it's not really a dip yet. I mean, put in the chat, what price are you looking at on your favorite name to buy? That's it. Like grab on below 6. That gets me excited. Hood's got to go back to the 120s for me to even think of it. Palantir back to the 170s. NVIDIA at least 175-ish. SoFi, it's already, back to 25, I guess, would be for most people. BM&R back in the low 50s. I'd get excited again, but I don't know. We got to see if it turns into anything worse. Bitmine back above 60. Oracle's profit margins from rentals of services powered by NVIDIA chips averaged around 16% in the past year. Okay, so we have to figure out, is that 16% good or bad against the expectations of the street? And I don't think Oracle discloses their profit margins from rental of servers. Like, that's not a stat they ever release on the earnings. So how the hell did the information get this data, first of all? And then number two, do the street think it should be 25% and that's why they're upset because it's at 16? Or is this a little bit of nothing burger? However, given this update from the information, to me, that proves, or at least it's getting to prove my theory, that it's not about they don't have the demand to rent out the GPUs to, which would be a way worse issue for the lack of internal issues in their finances. It's more about their margins. If the Oracle's saying, or if the information is putting out the margin profile of Oracle renting these GPUs, that's a way easier issue to solve than, hey, they have GPUs stuck in their data centers and they have no one to rent them out to because no one's willing to engage in business because they don't need that demand. Like that would go against all the narratives we've heard about AI demand. So it doesn't seem like that's the case. Seems like it's more a margin thing. But nonetheless, still hurting Oracle down about 5%. Margins are directly correlated with demand. If there is high demand, you have pricing power. Yeah, but I think there's a nuance there. There's a lot of different GPU resellers, right? I mean, again, I'm not fully well versed in exactly what Oracle does, CoreWeave does, Nebius does, but I would imagine, like, if you want to rent GPUs and you don't get a good deal from Oracle, then you might go to CoreWeave, or you might go to Nebius, or you might go to someone else, or you might go to Iren, right? Like, so it's not like that's it's not like it's NVIDIA where they have a monopoly on the GPUs and they have pricing power. I mean, there's a reason CoreWeave doesn't make a profit yet, right? Like the margins aren't the best, but the demand is massive. So I don't think there's a proportionally direct correlation with lower margins, lower demand, because there's so many different GPU resellers that are out there. But it looks like that, along with the NY Fed inflation expectations, are why we're down. Oracle generated $900 million in rentals of servers. Dude, how is the information getting all this data, bro? Who's leaking it to them? They are moving tens of billions of dollars right now. Where the heck did they get this from? That is weird, bro. Did Oracle leak them the data? Does Oracle want this data to get out there? That's weird. It's very, very weird. But nonetheless, we'll see if it actually has a meaningful impact on the market. AMD is that one getting hit. AMD 218 to 211. You're not seeing that big of a move across the market. S&P down a 0.3%. AppLovin's still up 7%. MicroStrategy is getting hit because of Bitcoin, unfortunately. Bitcoin taking a $3,000 candle out. Even Rocket Lab still holding 59. CoreWeave is down. How about Iren? Iren is still green, even with that news. Nebius is getting hit, down 3%. And then Bitfarms and CleanSpark, those guys are slightly green as well. I don't know. I'm not buying it. It feels fishy. It feels fishy. Jose's in Arizona, so unfortunately we can't call him. I think he comes back on Thursday. We'll try to get him on the show. But he's at some semiconductor conference. I don't know. This one feels a little bit more algo-y to get some stocks to take a hit. Yeah, this one's weird. Palantir's still holding up well. I mean, once you get a almost $1 trillion company to go down 6%, the whole market's going to notice, especially if it's in the AI space. And then if you get the NY Fed to put out some pretty harsh inflation expectations, it's definitely going to get these algos to get triggered. That's for sure. And it looks like that's what's happening. So there you go. Looks like that's what we got going on. Have you looked into Hover? I have not. I've not heard of this one. HOVR, New Horizon. It's a very small cap. Looks like they're kind of in the eVTOL space, 128 million. But I've not looked at them. Nvidia goes back to green. Yeah, dude, I don't know. I think this gets eaten up. But then again, if it doesn't get eaten up, it's been 2 months of green, right? I don't think we can call for, okay, this dip's going to get eaten up. But if it does, would it surprise anybody? I don't think so. People say, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. We're buying the dip. If it even counts as a dip for some people. VG, that one taking a hit. VG, yeah. I don't know why VG's down. But that is down 6% on the day. How about internationally? The Nikkei was basically flat today. So the Nikkei not moving. That one's doing okay. The Nifty 50 in India, that one's holding kind of flat as well. That one's not moving. Well, no, it's flat. It's up 0.12%. Then you got the S&P that's red. China, what about China? How's China doing? KWeb's down 1%. All right, so you're seeing a little bit of red across the board internationally. Dude, does Amazon have Prime Day soon? Is that why Amazon's getting some love? Amazon big deals underway. Japan is flat. China is down. I don't know. Let's see. Wait, Prime Day is today again? Hold on. I didn't know we had another Prime Day. I thought that was in summer.
As the company kicks off the holiday shopping season with the big Prime Day deals today. Joining us now with his outlook is Maxim Group Senior Consumer Internet Analyst Tom Forte. Tom, how much pressure is Amazon feeling because of tariffs?
Yeah, so Sarah, so far Amazon's not feeling a lot of pressure. And the reason is they were heavy in inventory in expectation of tariffs. And if you look at the Amazon, they have a structural advantage. On their marketplace, 60% of the items are sold by third-party sellers, not Amazon. And those third-party sellers know that in order to win the buy box, you have to price competitively. So far, not much impact for Amazon when it comes to tariffs.
Is that going to change?
I don't think it'll change. So when I think about Prime Day deals in October versus Prime Day deals in June or July, I think this is more of a sale by Amazon versus a sale and a way to test the fulfillment center network. And they're trying to capture as much wallet share heading into holiday. in what could be a challenging holiday spend when you think about the macro and you think about how tariffs have affected the economy in general.
What's going on with Amazon stock?
Okay, so it looks like there's going to be Prime Day today. That could be bullish. It looks like October 7th to October 10th. I didn't even know they had a Prime Day, but I mean, that could be somewhat of a catalyst. Now, the summer Prime Days for Amazon weren't that good. I mean, it was good in volume, but it wasn't good in like year-over-year growth. So it was a bit disappointing back in July. Maybe this one's different, but that's what we have to look at when it comes to Amazon. Oracle still down 4.3. I'm still very curious how the information got all this data about their internal finances. How the hell did they get this leak? It is affecting Oracle today. By the way, the new Fed governor, Stephen Moran, he said two things. My best attempt is keeping real neutral rates estimates at 0.5%. And he said it is hard to identify asset bubbles. It is hard to identify asset bubbles. So those are two quotes from the new Fed governor. All right, folks. I mean, I guess that's our little action for the day. We'll see what happens on the market close, but S&P going down 0.24. It was down 0.4, so already you see that little recovery right there. Would not be surprised to see if the market overall recovers towards the end of the day if this Oracle stuff is a nothing burger. But that and the NY Fed expectations, it's likely creating a little bit of pain right here. And it's across the board. Yeah, BM&R is back above 61. That was just below 60. Robinhood's going green. The Qs red? Yeah, the Qs are down 0.25%. I mean, you'd need NVIDIA to really get a haircut or Meta or Google for this thing to go down 1%. Even AppLovin, dude, back to 634 from 545 last night. So you have a lot of names that are still doing okay, which is not too bad. But I think it's too early to tell if this is a full-on V-shape. I mean, I think you're probably going to need to see a little bit more data. But so far, you do have a intraday bottom on the S&P at 668.82 with a bunch of green candles above it. And I guess throughout the day, we'll see if that ends up turning into an actual bottom. I don't know when Trump and Carney are speaking. I think it's going to be in a few hours. Yeah, it's going to be at around 12:30. So we'll try to get some clips on that on the market close. Today's Tuesday, so we'll have Technical Tuesday. And we'll get Jason's thoughts on what's going on in the world of technicals. But this Oracle thing and the NY Fed expectations don't really feel like it's a massive, massive catalyst for any dip. All right, that's what we got. And then Tesla, also on the market close, you got Jensen, who's going to be live on CNBC, so we'll listen to Jensen. And then maybe Tesla puts out an announcement at 4 p.m., or maybe they put out a press release for the event or whatever they're going to do. But today, at some point, October 7th, they will be announcing something, probably a new car. And I guess later throughout the day, we are going to see. All right, that's what we got. Word of the day. Word of the day is Nokia, but the actual word of the day. Premiate. I'm going with premiate.
Premiate.
Okay, there you go. Not bad. To grant a prize or an award to. Premiate. To grant a prize or award to. Yes, we will have TT today, Technical Tuesday. And maybe we'll get the Tesla news in the middle of it. So we'll keep up with it throughout the day if we end up getting that news. Premiate. To grant a prize or award to. Yeah, I guess YouTube premiated me. That sounds a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. YouTube, I'm gonna premiate you. That sounds a little just, I don't know. It just sounds a little off. But yeah, there you go. Thank you, YouTube, for premiating me with the award, and thank you all for being here and being part of this community. It's a little weird, right? It's a little weird. You know what's not weird though? You know what's not weird? Vanilla flurries. Ladies and gentlemen, I am entering into my candle era. Okay? Vanilla flurries. I am so excited to get into being a candle guy. Picked up a bunch of these yesterday from Target. And smells great, dude. It smells great. I am a candle guy. So this apartment is about to smell like vanilla flurries. And this is the top. Dude, this thing was like $18. Is this like, it is a pretty big candle though. It is a pretty big one, but $18 a little expensive. Maybe that is the top. But there you go. Amit just end the stream. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Nokia, vanilla flurries. That's why you come to the show. That's why you guys come to the show every day. All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. You know, technically speaking, I stare at candles all day. So I've always been a candle guy. Now we just have some scented candles. So it kind of is, it's kind of his destiny to end up being an actual candle guy. So we know you're gay a bit. Okay. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Love you all. I'll see you guys on the market close for Technical Tuesday. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.